rezeki dan kurniaan-Mu, Ya Allah. Sesungguhnya Engkaulah Tuhan yang Maha Memberi. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Kami berhimpun pada hari ini untuk menjayakan majlis ilmu ini. Maka Engkau pemudahkanlah majlis ini supaya berjalan dengan lancar. Kami ingin menimba ilmu sebanyak mungkin supaya kami mampu untuk memperkembangkan potensi kami sehingga menjadi hamba-Mu yang Kau ridai, Ya Allah. Kurniakanlah ilmu kepada kami, Ya Allah. Sinarkanlah hati kami, Ya Allah. Sesungguhnya Engkaulah Tuhan yang Maha Mendengar lagi Maha Mengetahui. Ya Zal Jalali wal Ikram. Hadiahkanlah kepada kami kesihatan badan, kecerdasan minda, ketenangan jiwa dan kekuatan semangat. Kami mohon kepada Engkau, Ya Allah. Bantulah kami dalam menghadapi segala cabaran. Ringankanlah beban kami. Sesungguhnya Engkaulah yang Maha Berkuasa. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Terima kasih.
Amin ya rabbal alamin. Majlis merakamkan setinggi-tinggi penghargaan kepada saudara Muhammad Latif bin Nur Pandi atas bacaan doa itu tadi. Semoga majlis kita pada pagi ini berjalan dengan lancar dan dilimpahi berkat. Untuk makluman, tujuan program ini diadakan adalah untuk meningkatkan kesedaran dan menambahkan pengetahuan mengenai kanser di kalangan komuniti UIAM, Kuantan dan pelajar sains bioperubatan. Tanpa melengahkan lagi masa, seterusnya majlis menjemput Yang Dihormati Dr. Nur Hafizah binti Zainuddin, Pensyarah Universiti Islam Antarabangsa Malaysia untuk menyampaikan ucapan alu-aluan. Dengan segala hormatnya, majlis mempersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Boleh dengar ke?
Boleh.
Okey. Saya minta maaf ya kalau ada gangguan bunyi background di belakang. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Terima kasih kepada saudari pengurusi majlis Ustaz Aisyah yang berusaha, Prof. Madia, Dr. Radia Abdul Ghani, Timbalan Dekan Pembangunan Pelajar dan Pelibatan Komuniti, yang berusaha saudara Muhammad Alif Amirul, pengarah program webinar Facts About Cancer 2021. Yang dihormati panelis jemputan kita pada hari ini, Puan Hibatullah Abdul Rahman, Events Executive di Cancer Research Malaysia yang juga pemandiri kanser payudara. Yang dihormati panelis kita juga, Puan Hajah Zuraini Kamal, pengerusi Cancer Survivors Malaysia dan pemandiri kanser endometrium. Barisan Kepimpinan Persatuan Sains Kesihatan Bersekutu, KAHS. Tetamu yang diraikan daripada Pertubuhan Sokongan Pesakit Kanser Kuantan, para pensyarah dan pelajar yang dirahmati Allah sekalian. Setinggi-tinggi kesyukuran kehadrat Allah kerana dengan limpah rahmat dan kurnianya kita dapat bersama dalam forum pada hari ini walaupun dalam alam maya, forum bersama pemandiri kanser, pesempena program kesedaran kanser. Syabas, tahniah kepada KAHS di atas komitmen yang tidak berbelah bagi dalam penganjuran program ini, yang sememangnya merupakan satu usaha terpuji untuk memperkasakan komuniti pelajar UIA dalam meningkatkan kesedaran tentang kanser dan memahami peranan pemandiri kanser dalam masyarakat. Hadirin yang dirahmati Allah sekalian, seperti yang kita tahu secara umumnya, kanser merupakan penyakit yang boleh menimpa sesiapa sahaja tanpa mengira usia dan jantina. Kanser kini merupakan penyebab kematian utama di negara-negara membangun selain COVID-19 sekarang. Di Malaysia saja kira-kira 60% daripada prognosis kanser hanya dikesan pada peringkat akhir, iaitu pada tahap 3 dan 4. Dan lebih membimbangkan, menurut Perangkaan Pertubuhan Kesihatan Sedunia WHO, 70% daripada penduduk berpendapatan sederhana dan juga rendah terdedah kepada risiko kanser dengan peningkatan sebanyak 60% dalam tempoh 20 tahun. So itu agak banyak ya. Hadirin yang dikasihi sekalian, memandangkan peningkatan statistik kanser yang membimbangkan ini, kajian mendalam mengenai kanser amatlah penting. Usaha penyelidikan ini amat membantu dari segi diagnosis yang tepat dan amat membantu para doktor kita untuk memberikan rawatan yang tepat kepada pesakit-pesakit kanser ini. Oleh itu, saya percaya penyelidikan yang berterusan untuk mencari langkah yang terbaik bagi meningkatkan tahap kelangsungan hidup pesakit kanser amatlah perlu. Dan usaha penyelidikan ini tidak patut terhenti pada setakat ini walaupun kita menghadapi kekangan akibat PKP disebabkan virus COVID-19 ini lah ya. Dan salah satu pertubuhan bukan kerajaan Malaysia yang aktif menyokong objektif ini adalah Cancer Research Malaysia ataupun CRM ya. Dan kumpulan sokongan kanser pula tidak kurang pentingnya dalam membantu pesakit kanser dan keluarga mereka yang menghadapi penyakit ini. Ya. Dan kumpulan ini bukan sahaja memberikan sokongan emosi, malah mendidik masyarakat untuk berani tampil melakukan penyaringan sekiranya mereka berisiko menghadapi kanser. Dan saya percaya di sinilah letaknya peranan penting Cancer Survivors Malaysia ya, yang dipengerusikan oleh Puan Hajah Zuraini kita untuk menyokong objektif ini. Oleh itu, forum kita pada hari ini amatlah bertepatan dengan program kesedaran kanser yang telah dianjurkan di UIA pada 17 Mei lepas dan berterusan sehingga ke hari ini, sehingga ke 30 Mei. Ya. Dan akhir kata, saya ingin merakamkan penghargaan kepada semua yang terlibat bagi menjayakan program ini, serta tahniah kepada semua yang dapat hadir pada hari ini. Semoga mendapat manfaat. Dengan ini, saya merasmikan forum bersama Pemandiri Kanser 2021. Terima kasih kepada semua. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih.
Majlis mengucapkan jutaan terima kasih kepada Dr. Nafizah binti Zainuddin atas ucapan itu tadi. Seterusnya, saya menyerahkan majlis ini kepada moderator, Saudara Ahmad Razin bin Zainal Abidin untuk meneruskan forum pada pagi ini.
Baiklah, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih saya ucapkan pada pengerusi majlis, Saudari Aisyah. Yang dihormati Dr. Nafizah binti Zainuddin selaku perasmi majlis, yang diraikan dua panel jemputan kita, Puan Hibatullah binti Abdul Rahman dan Puan Zuraini binti Kamal. Sebelum saya mulakan sesi forum kita pada pagi ini, baik kiranya saya mulakan dahulu sesi ini dengan pengenalan terhadap panel kita dahulu. Puan Hibatullah merupakan panel yang pertama, merupakan survivor barah payudara, ahli kepada Young Cancer Survivor Group, sebuah kumpulan sokongan di bawah seliaan Persatuan Kanser Kebangsaan Malaysia. Panel yang kedua ialah Puan Zuraini. Beliau merupakan survivor barah endometrium, juga merupakan presiden kepada Persatuan Kanser Survivor Malaysia. Okay. Sebelum saya terus kepada soalan, saya ingin terangkan dahulu format forum kita pada hari ini. Format forum kita pada hari ini ialah akan berlangsung dalam 5 pusingan. Saya akan tanyakan soalan yang sama setiap pusingan kepada kedua-dua panel kita. Kedua-dua panel mempunyai masa sebanyak 7 hingga 8 minit untuk satu soalan. Sebelum kita pergi ke soalan, saya ingin macam nak tarik semula perhatian audiens terhadap tujuan forum kita. Dah diterangkan oleh Dr. Nafizah dengan baik tadi. Tapi saya ingin tekankan sedikit tentang kanser ini bukannya satu penyakit yang senang untuk diubati, senang untuk didiagnosis. Sebab salah satu quote, kalau ada yang tengok dalam New Amsterdam, salah satu TV series, dia ceritakan tentang keadaan hospital di US. Tapi dia menerangkan juga tentang kanser ataupun onkologi dalam cerita tu. Contoh quote yang ada dalam cerita tu oleh Max Goodwin, apabila dia ingin sampaikan sesuatu berita buruk pada pesakit kanser, ada quote dia disampaikan, "You could stay here, but really the treatment is worse than the disease. Itu bayangkanlah macam mana survivor cancer ataupun sakit-sakit kanser menghadapi rawatan-rawatan yang mereka telah dapati. Okey. Ya, saya terus kepada soalan yang pertama. Saya tujukan dahulu kepada Puan Hibatullah. Soalan dia, bagaimana anda didiagnosis mengidap bara? Adakah anda diagnosis pada peringkat awal ataupun akhir? Okey, silakan Puan Hibah.
Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Boleh.
Okay. Thank you. First and foremost, thank you very much for having me today. Saya minta maaf ya kalau ada gangguan internet. My internet for some reason today is not very good. And I will be mixing English and Malay if that's okay with everybody. Kalau ada apa-apa yang tak faham, you just ask me and I can try my best to explain it better. Okay, so I was diagnosed tahun 2015. At that time, I was 25 years old. So you can do the math at how old I am now. How I was diagnosed. I actually had a lump, ketumbuhan in my breast for about 4 years. And it's not that I didn't go for my checkup. I did. I went to see a doctor every single year for my checkup. But because I'm young at the time, doctors misdiagnose me because in their minds, you're young, you don't get cancer. So unfortunately, for 4 years, my cancer went misdiagnosed. And then in 2015, I still remember this day. It was after a shower. Suddenly, I started having bloody discharge or bleeding, pendarahan from my nipple. And of course, it's very scary because it is something unusual or out of the ordinary. So I asked my cousin and one of my good friends, both of who are doctors. I said, is this normal? What do I do? And from then they told me, you need to see a breast specialist, not a GP, not a gynae, a breast specialist. Now, it is only then that I realized that breast specialist and gynae are two different doctors. So growing up as a woman, I'm always told, kena pergi jumpa gynae. So in my head, macam, okay lah, gynae is, pakar and supposed to be for women's issues. So I thought, okay, if I see a gynae, the gynae would know what to do in terms of my breasts. However, because their specialties are so different, gynecologists check your ovaries, your uterus, so anything to do with giving birth or having your menstrual cycle, that's what a gynae actually checks. Now, if you want to see your breasts, you should see a breast specialist. So when I went to see this breast specialist, she did an ultrasound and she said, oh, your scan doesn't look very good. And that time I already started to macam, okay, panic sikit. And then she did a biopsy, which is what she does is she uses like a gun, a medical gun, to take samples of the lump that was in my breast, and she would send it to a lab and get the results back to confirm whether it's cancer or not. So when she did that, she already told me, she sat me down, she explained, okay, your breast has these dark spots, which could mean a tumor. And then it has white spots that are very close to each other and around the dark spots as well. So that is called calcifications, which is calcium deposits. And that was also a sign of cancer. And she checked my lymph nodes. So our whole body, our whole system, we have lymph nodes to actually filter out infections and, viruses. So you have lymph nodes underneath your armpits, di bawah ketiak. So she did an ultrasound underneath my armpit, near my breast area, and she said that area is also dah bengkak, the lymph nodes in the area. So she said there's a high possibility that it is cancer. However, she was still hopeful that it might not be. There was probably a 5% chance that it wasn't. Unfortunately, it was. So I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. And when I had the discussion with her, alhamdulillah, she said, for it to be in your body for 4 years and only be stage 2, you are very, very lucky. Because a lot of times cancer is very aggressive. And within 4 years, I have friends who have passed away within 1 year. So alhamdulillah, I was considered very, very lucky. And it was an interesting experience, I might say. It was difficult, but it made me learn a lot about myself and about my whole diagnosis. Yeah, so that's how I was diagnosed with cancer.
Okay, thank you, Madam Iba. I see. I'm speechless about you are too young to be diagnosed with cancer, 25 years old. Okay. From our majority, my classmate here, majority are 23, 24, or 22. So we are about 2 years to get, and maybe a diagnosis. Maybe we don't know, but na'udzubillah. Okay. The same question. Bagaimana anda diagnosis mengidap bara? Adakah anda diagnosis pada peringkat awal atau akhir? I want to ask this question to Puan Zurain. Silakan Puan Zurain. Tak dengar tadi. Okey, maaf. Soalan yang sama. Bagaimana anda diagnosis mengidap bara? Adakah anda diagnosis pada peringkat awal atau akhir? Saya ingin tanyakan soalan ini pada Puan Zuraini.
Can you hear me?
Silakan.
Hello?
Boleh. Okey, silakan.
Okay. I think wire I tak connect dengan baik lah tu. Okay lah, sekali lagi ya. Assalamualaikum, saya Zuraini Kamal. Saya adalah pemandiri kanser endometrium atau kanser dinding rahim. Okey, macam yang Puan Hiba ada cerita sikit, kalau kanser macam saya, kita jumpa gynaecologist, ya. Kanser wanita yang banyak menyerang rahim, uterus, semualah, ya, pangkal rahim especially lah. Tapi saya punya di dinding rahim. So I was diagnosed tahun 2012 dan saya bernasib baik. Kanser saya ini dikesan tak sengaja. Tak ada orang pun menjangka dia akan kena kanser. Tambah saya menjalani kehidupan yang sihat. Saya dulu bersukan, bersenam, jaga pemakanan. Bab pemakanan lah, suplemen ni semua ni saya rasa saya champion jugalah. Lebih pakar daripada dietitian ni. Ya, jadi saya memang menjalani hidup yang sihat. Saya pergi gym, saya buat swimming, jaga ideal berat badan yang ideal, ya. Semua tu saya jaga. Tetapi rupanya kanser itu menyerang saya disahkan mengidap kanser dan kerana bagaimana saya boleh diagnose, saya katalah saya sangat bernasib baik kerana kebetulan saya nak mengerjakan umrah. Dan pada ketika usia 43 tu saya nak buat umrah yang ketiga. Actually I dah did my Hajj. So kali ni nak buat umrah tu, kita ni wanita, kita tak nak kena period sebab kita tak nak gangguan sewaktu kita mengerjakan ibadah. Jadi saya pun pergilah jumpa gynae dan kebetulan gynae yang saya pergi tu she is a gynaecologist. So bila saya pergi, dia pun bertanyalah tentang saya punya period, when was your last period, apa semua. Jadi saya pun cerita dan saya mengadulah kepada doktor. Sebenarnya saya kata, doktor, saya dah 2 bulan period. After my period habis 7 hari, dah bersih mandi, saya ada stain. Stain tu tak banyak, sikit je, sikit. Tapi sebab kita ni tak selesa, sebab kita tak pernah ada stain ataupun discharge lah, kita kata discharge daripada vagina tu. Saya ni boleh katakan sangat prihatin jugalah tentang tubuh badan. So benda tu mengganggu saya, walaupun yang keluar tu warna brown, coklat, saya tak tahu pun kata itu darah sebenarnya, ya. So saya mengadulah kepada saya punya gynae. Saya cerita kat dia, so dia pun ingat you umur 43, mungkin you dah nak early menopause lah, yang dia kata macam tu. But dia monitor saya untuk sebulan dan 2 bulan. Lepas tu bagi ubat tahan darah dan sebagainya. Bila masuk period yang cycle period yang kedua, saya ada bleeding extra, suddenly ada discharge bleeding yang banyak, berketul, saya terus pergi jumpa dia balik. Saya ni jenis yang saya kata tadi sangat agak observant juga dengan masalah kesihatan diri. Jadi saya jumpa gynae saya kata, Suraini, you punya time appointment tu belum lagi. Saya kata tak, saya nak jumpa juga kerana kemarin discharge keluar, darah tu ketul, which is bukan waktu period saya, dan saya rasa ini sesuatu yang pelik. Saya pun jadi pelik dan takut, dan dia pun mencadangkan saya untuk buat biopsi. Dia panggil HPE. Dia kata, Zani, kita buat biopsi. Saya pergi hospital private, jadi perkara apa orang kata untuk dapatkan clinical trial ataupun uji kaji klinik tu senang lah kan, sebab you kena bayar je. Kalau you pergi hospital kerajaan, okay, it takes some time for you to get your appointments. Jadi saya bernasib baik, gynae onko saya tu ada pengalaman dan ada knowledge, jadi dia memberi saya satu cadangan yang betul, iaitu dia suruh saya buat biopsi. Dia kata kita buat, kalau sebab saya nak pergi umrah lagi 2 minggu, jadi dia kata kita buat je lah. Dan masa saya jumpa gynae saya pada hari pertama, sebelum kes saya nak pergi umrah tu, saya buat pap smear, dan pap smear saya negatif. Jadi kanser saya dinding rahim, pangkal rahim saya bersih, tak ada kesan atau tanda-tanda kanser. Itu 2 situasi yang berbeza. Lepas tu bila saya buat biopsi, saya pun biopsi untuk kami, kita kena apa orang kata bius penuh. You kena bius penuh. So prosedur dia sekejap je, saya masuk bilik bedah dan dia orang ambilkan sampel, dan saya dapat hasil itu 10 hari, iaitu lagi 2 hari nak bertolak mengajukan umrah. Itu adalah detik waktu doktor mengesahkan, dia kata, Zani, I had a bad news for you. I have a bad news for you. It is confirmed cancer. Sedangkan pada awalnya doktor meyakinkan saya, it's nothing. It's more or less your hormone, mungkin you nak menopause. So tubuh yang sihat mungkin ada kanser juga. So kena banyak perhatikan tanda-tanda dalam badan. Itu je.
Okay. Baik, Puan Suraini. Terima kasih. Okay. Terima kasih kepada kedua-duanya atas berkongsi pengalaman tentang bagaimana diagnosis barah tu berada peringkat awal atau peringkat akhir, dan bagaimana barah ni tidak mengenal usia lah sebenarnya. Yang muda boleh kena, yang tua boleh kena, dan walaupun kita mengamalkan pemakanan yang sihat, mengamalkan cara hidup yang sihat, ada juga kemungkinan untuk kita terkena barah tu sendiri. Okay. Saya terus pada soalan yang kedua. Saya tujukan soalan ini kepada Puan Hiba. Bolehkah saya tahu mengenai perbezaan antara pengetahuan mengenai barah sebelum anda didiagnosis dan setelah anda didiagnosis? The floor is yours. Silakan.
Thank you very much. So before I got diagnosed with cancer, I didn't know anything about cancer. I think being young, kita yang muda lagi, kita selalu fikir, okay lah, it will happen to those older than me, my parents or my grandparents. Also because back then, kalau you tengok a lot of the screening information, and by back then I mean 5-10 years ago, it's still very recent, it's targeted to a lot of those di atas umur 40. So usually 40 and above, you're supposed to get screened, you're supposed to get your mammograms. Men are also supposed to get screened above the age of 40. Usually that's the age that they will set for you. So in my mind, I will never get cancer because I'm young. So also the information is not as readily available as it is now, because now we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have all sorts of social media tools that we can actually use to gain information. I mean, even a year ago, I didn't do Google Meets or Zoom calls, so I wouldn't be able to have discussions like this or forums like this where I can speak to either survivors or even doctors. So my knowledge of cancer before my diagnosis was very minimal, because also I did not have anybody in my family that had cancer. So there is no family history of cancer in my family. My mom doesn't have it. My aunties don't have it. My sisters don't have it. And breast cancer, selalunya if you have somebody in your family yang ada cancer payudara, the chances for you to get it increases. It's not that it's high, it increases. So there are people who mak dia ada, auntie dia ada, dia pun akan kena. So it's that one would be more a genetic component, and there are actually geneticists, I think that's what they're called, that actually can determine this. So if you go to Cancer Research Malaysia, there is one lady who actually does genetic study, and she can actually determine whether you have this particular gene, which is called the BRCA gene, that would increase your chances of having breast cancer. And after I was diagnosed, I actually, from day one, I told my doctor, I want to know all the information. Don't hide anything from me. I want to know everything, A to Z. You tell me the name of the medication. You tell me the name of my scans, what I need to do, how long is my treatment plan, what medication I need to be on. I want to know. Because this is my body. I want to know what is going into my body. And even though I was quite strict with my follow-ups even before cancer, after cancer, I was even more aware of my body. And so I actually, from day one, started researching about my type of cancer, how many types of cancers there are. The medication, I actually told my doctor to list down everything so that I can Google what are the side effects. I even found a medical journal that had a guideline for doctors to use for cancer treatment. I don't know how I found it, but I found it. And that one specifically was for doctors. And I actually found, okay, my treatment plan is one of the general ones that I used. Unfortunately, it was very difficult to find a cancer survivor that was my age, that was in her 20s. All the cancer survivors that I knew at that time were 40 or 50 and above. I think only about a year and a half, almost 2 years after my diagnosis, I managed to find a group of young survivors below the age of 35. I was very, very lucky to have to actually find them. Before that, I think there was only one patient. My doctor had referred her to me. She was diagnosed at the age of 19, 19 tahun. And when I met her, she was already 8 years a survivor. So you can imagine at the age of 19, having breast cancer and having your life change at the time that you are supposed to start university. So it was, I'm very grateful that I did all of my research and I trusted my doctors. That was very important. I have a very good team of medical doctors and I'm very particular about my doctors. So I made sure that I have a very good relationship with my doctor. I have to be comfortable with my doctor. If I'm not comfortable, I will ask for another doctor and I will just say, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with you. I would like to speak to another doctor. We have to be respectful of our doctors. We cannot just, scold them and things like that for no necessity. So I would have a very thorough discussion with my doctors. And alhamdulillah, I had a great team of nurses. I had a great team of doctors who really was very honest with me throughout my whole journey. And whatever information that I want, I just have to ask. Now, doctors also tell me that sometimes they don't share information because patient memang tak nak tahu.
Yeah.
Patients want to know what they are going through. And that's fine. If that is you, that's fine. But for me, I wanted to know. So if you go and see a doctor and doctor tu tak explain, it means you are not asking. They want you to ask. Simply because some patients memang tak nak tahu. So the more you ask, the more that they will tell you. If you find a doctor that's, you're not comfortable with, don't be scared to change your doctor. Don't be afraid to actually seek a second opinion because it is your right as a patient. This is something that I learned as a patient for the past 6 years, alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Terima kasih Puan Hibah. Soalan yang sama juga saya tujukan kepada Puan Zuraini. Bolehkah saya tahu mengenai perbezaan antara pengetahuan mengenai barah sebelum didiagnosis dan selepas diagnosis? Silakan Puan Zuraini.
I think masyarakat Malaysia secara umum lah, beside doctors, medical team dan sebagainya, I think tak ramai yang tahu tentang kanser secara detail. Kita tahu kanser je lah. Sebab bagi saya, sebagai orang awam, memang pertama tak ada idea apa-apa tentang kanser sebab kita tak pernah kena. Keluarga terdekat tak ada, ahli keluarga yang di sekeliling saya, kawan-kawan semua tak ada. Jadi kita dengar kanser ni apa yang kita tengok kat TV lah, kat drama especially. Asal kanser je mati. Lepas tu kerja duk tulis bila lah nak hidup lagi berapa lama, duk pangkah kalender kan. So when I was first diagnosed, I was lucky kerana saya saya ada kawan-kawan doctors. Jadi mereka yang memberi suggestion apa yang kena buat, ya. Dan salah satunya ialah saya diminta mengadakan ataupun melakukan rawatan saya di Hospital Tanah Bahyah. I was referred from private hospital to government hospital kerana ketika itu ini cerita tahun 2012 Tahun 2012 di Kedah, Hospital Tanah Bahyah baru saja set up satu center dia panggil Northern Region untuk gynae onco. Maksudnya department itu pengkhususan dia ialah merawat kanser wanita. Untuk utara ni di Hospital Tanah Bahyah. So I was lucky. The team was head by Datuk Dr. Rushdan. He's my gynae onco sampai sekarang. You know lah, pertama kanser ni rawatannya panjang dan mahal. Unless you punya insurans boleh cover, then you boleh stay di private hospital. Saya ada banyak insurans lah. I was covered with insurance. Tetapi kepakaran itu ada di hospital kerajaan. So saya refer myself, saya tukar dan terus ke hospital kerajaan kerana pakar saya ada di situ. Orang yang bertanggungjawab untuk melakukan pembedahannya dan mereka yang berada di situ adalah tim-tim yang very experienced doctors, onkologis. So saya mendapat rawatan saya di Hospital Tanah Bahyah. Saya was lucky. Doktor saya menjawab semua persoalan saya. Saya tanya soalan, masa saya jumpa doktor yang pertama yang buka file saya, Dr. Badrul, dia bersama saya 3 jam. Mungkin masa tu dia dah tak ada, dah last day, dia pun dah tak ada patient, jadi dia jawab semua persoalan saya lah dan kita buat banyaklah detail sebab saya nak pergi ke umrah kan, saya cerita, jadi semua tu saya kena prepare sebelum saya berangkat mengerjakan umrah. Maksudnya saya kena pergi buat test, lepas tu dia buat ukuran semualah, masuklah check dekat ward, sebab saya balik daripada umrah terus masuk ward untuk pembedahan. Dan sebenarnya saya tak banyak knowledge, saya tak tahu apa yang saya hadapi, dan saya mempunyai ramai rakan-rakan yang bagi saya macam-macam pantang, larang, petua. Inilah salah satunya yang antara perkara atau cabaran yang dihadapi oleh pesakit kanser awam lah, macam kami yang tak ada knowledge tentang bioteknologi apa semua ni lah. Zaman belajar dulu bio fail kan, jadi tak banyak knowledge tentang kesihatan dan rawatan. So kita ni terima apa saja dekat Google. Kita pergi Google, jumpa lah doktor yang tak ada pakar. Saya masa tu takut juga. Sementara nak buat rawatan tu, saya ada a few times masa tu, macam-macam saya buat dalam masa yang singkat tu. Saya sempat lagi pergi dekat web masa zaman tahun 2012 ni, doktor pun tak menulis kat FB. Doktor tak banyak menulis kat FB, jadi tak ada banyak knowledge. Doktor ni boleh katakan satu kumpulan yang pertama kita takut nak jumpa, dan kita ni tak ada level nak pergi jumpa tanya-tanya soalan pasal kanser tu. I don't think so lah kita buat benda-benda macam tu. So banyaknya tanya kawan, dan kawan rupanya dia tanya Google. So bila Google tu keluarlah, saya dulu hampir nak buat rawatan injection B17 katanya tanpa pembedahan. Lepas tu ada pula kawan baik BFF saya, dia kerja hari-hari, kata Zuraini kalau I jadi you, I tak buat operation. Jadi kita pun macam takutnya keputusan saya ni adalah keputusan yang salah. Cuma saya bernasib baik seperti yang saya kata, sebab semuanya dah buat di peringkat awal, saya dah got track, saya dah tak boleh lari dah. Sebab saya dah buat appointment, dah setkan tarikh pembedahan. Jadi nak tak nak saya kena settle dengan hospital. Takkan saya nak lari kan? Walaupun 50-50 lagi ni. Sebab saya tak sakit, saya rasa doktor salah diagnose saya. walau macam mana pun saya bertenang sekejap, saya ambil masa pergi buat umrah dan 2 minggu tu saya pergilah solat dan sebagainya, jauh sikit daripada gangguan. Saya dapat satu panggilan telefon dari kakak angkat saya, seorang doktor pakar. Dia telefon saya, dia kata no matter whatever you nak buat pun, you nak pergi promo ke alternatif dan sebagainya, you make sure you complete your treatment. You pergi buat pembedahan ni dulu. Saya janjilah, saya janji sebab saya dah janji kat Mekah, jadi saya kena fulfill. Saya pun balik Malaysia, lepas hari je berehat, terus masuk ward lah. Saya pun bawa beg pergi masuk ward. So, apa yang saya nak katakan ialah apabila kita tidak mempunyai knowledge, ya, kita tak ada ilmu dan tidak ada perkongsian daripada survivors yang lain tentang rawatan yang telah dijalankan, kita akan mudah terpengaruh dengan cerita-cerita yang kita tak tahu asas. Sebab itulah peranan yang dimainkan oleh Cancer Survivor Malaysia ni, kita nak ajak ramai kawan-kawan survivors macam Puan Hiba dan semuanya lah, tak kira usia anda. Kerana yang survivors akan banyak reach atau memberi inspirasi kepada young cancer patients, dan orang tua juga perlu, kerana kita ada pesakit kanser usia 80-an yang masih pergi buat kemo. Ada ramai orang tua takut kerana tidak ada survivors yang nak bercerita. Rupanya bila kita dah sihat, dah survive, ramai survivors. Tetapi budaya masyarakat kita pada zaman dulu tidak bercerita. Mungkin juga kerana tak ada platform untuk berkongsi. Ya, tak ada YouTube. Nak buat YouTube pun segan, kita bukan artis kan. Lagi cakap depan seorang-seorang kat telefon, orang kata orang gila kan. Walau macam mana pun, bila saya tahun 2012, masa saya diagnose dengan, masa saya dah start, itu pun it takes me some time untuk berkongsi. You ingat senang ke nak cerita tentang penyakit? You tahu masyarakat masa tu masih tabu mengatakan sakit kanser ni semua banyak buat dosa. Kan, saya ni pendosa yang betul-betul banyak dosa, pasal tu lah kena kanser, kan, padangan muka. Jadi saya pun macam insaf kejap. Jadi nak cerita ke orang pun takut, nak kongsi tentang pengalaman pun masa tu memang tak tahu. Kita tak tahu bahawa rupanya kalau saya cerita saya bekas pesakit kanser dan saya masih sihat, macam Dr. Puan Hiba saya tengok dengan segok, saya tengok itulah contoh cancer survivor. You know, she still can look good and great. Boleh makan elok, boleh pakai lipstick. So maksudnya,
Thank you.
tak, it's true. Ya, sebab saya pun masa saya selepas saya operation, saya sebenarnya, saya tak tahu lah saya boleh jawab ke tidak tahu pengalaman ni, tapi antaranya ialah saya murung 3 months, 6 months, saya lupa ketawa dan sebagainya. Tetapi apabila satu orang pesakit kanser, cancer survivor datang menziarahi saya, dia pakai lipstick, saya terus terinspirasi. Saya kata, sakit kanser masih boleh pakai lipstick, no? Maksudnya, betul lah, Cancer Survivor Malaysia, kita punya motto ialah aku ingin hidup. So, aku ingin hidup ni banyak benda kena buat. Pakai lipstick bagi saya untuk memberi inspirasi kepada cancer patients yang lain. Thank you, moderator.
Terima kasih Puan Zuraini. Saya rasa tadi perkongsian yang cukup baik daripada kedua panel, sebab kesedaran ni perlu diteruskan. Siapa yang join sekali forum ni, sedarkan family-family rapat itu tentang kesedaran untuk diagnosis awal, kesedaran untuk share positivity, bukannya cakap macam Puan Zuraini sebut tadi, orang yang kena kanser ni ada dosa banyak. Tidak, sebab penyakit ni pelbagai jenis. So kita kena cari dia punya ubat dia dan kena cari diagnosis yang sepatutnya. Okey, terima kasih kedua panel. Saya terus kepada soalan yang ketiga. Soalan ni macam nak minta kedua panel kongsikan pengalaman yang paling tidak dapat dilupakan semasa menghidapi penyakit ni. Okey. Saya persilakan Puan Hiba dulu.
Before I answer that question, I just wanted to say, Puan Zuraini, thank you very, very much for the compliment. Thank you so much. It is actually very important to feel good.
Yeah.
You know, we've gone through so much, kan, Puan Zuraini? So it's so important, even if you are at home. Kita kan tengah lockdown, so even when you're at home, sometimes I dress up, sometimes I wear lipstick. You know, it's so important to feel good, not just to look good, but to feel good. And to feel good is not how anybody should tell you. It's how you feel for yourself. And nobody can tell you how to feel good. That is like a personal thing. And that's very, very important. So thank you so much, Puan Zuraini. Okay, so moving on. My most unforgettable experience, pengalaman yang paling tidak dapat dilupakan, there's actually two. So, firstly was when I was going through my first chemo, and after about 2 or 3 weeks before my second cycle. So cycle, how the doctor calculates is from day 1 of your chemo until the next chemo. So that's one cycle of chemo. So my hair started falling, and I remember getting up and my hair was all over my pillow. Whenever I mandi, nak shampoo rambut, my hair akan gugur banyak. Like literally kalau I just do this, there's a whole bunch of hair on my hands. And it's very common for chemo patients. So what I did was I told my husband, I want to shave off my hair. I don't want all this clumping of hair, all of these things. I want to shave it off. So at that time, what he did was, we were in my mom's kitchen, I remember. He took his shaver and he started shaving off my hair. Now, I have a niece. Right now, she's 7 years old. At that time, she was about setahun lebih, before 2 years old. And I'm very close to her. Her name is Layla. And from the day she was born, I have always been close to her. I used to mandikan dia, kalau dia sakit, I jaga dia. I change her diapers, I give her susu, I put her to sleep. And when I was diagnosed with cancer, the first thing in my mind was, Ya Allah, I want to see my niece grow up. I want to see her drive her car. I want to see her go to university. I want to see her get married and have her own children. I want to see all of that. I want to see her future. And it broke my heart when I was diagnosed. So I fought for her. And when I was going through treatment, I sat with this 1.5-year-old child and I told her what I was going through. At that time, she could only say a few words though. And if you have any nieces or nephews, or if you're around any kids around that age, you will know the extent of their development at that time. They probably just learn how to walk or run and learn that they can grab onto things, and you have to chase after them. And they could only probably start stringing a few words, start learning the ABCs, And for a child that is only 1.5 years old, she understood so much. Every time I was going through my treatment and I was going through my chemo, she never left my side. Never. She will always play around me, but she knows not to come too close because I don't have much energy to play with her. Shaving off my hair, my sister brought her to my mom's house. And as I was shaving off my hair, my niece started crying. It's about, I think the sound of the razor to the macam, oh my goodness. So she started crying. She said, Ibu, I'm scared. So my sister brought her to the living room, which is separate from the kitchen. So dah habis tu dah shave off my hair. Now I went to see her and she just looked at me like this. She just stared at me and I was thinking, oh my God, she doesn't recognize me ke? Like I felt so scared because this child that I'm so close to, she doesn't recognize me. What if after this she doesn't want to play with me? So she just looked, and after that I just sat down and she came to me and she just stared at me. And you need to keep in mind my hair is no longer there, okay? So she came and she started touching my head. So I was just like, okay, just let her do that. Just touch. And then I just said, are you okay, Layla? And she heard my voice. And she said, oh, okay, it's my auntie, it's Usuhiba. And then she started playing with me like normal. And to be honest, I I was very afraid to shave off my hair because I was thinking, does it make me a different person? Does it mean that, I will be looked at differently or judged differently, And this little girl taught me that not having hair doesn't make you a different person.
Yeah.
Changing the way you look doesn't make you a different person. And I learned this from a 1-year-old child. And after that, I didn't care about what anybody said about how I look or, whatever people's opinions were of me. To me, I know who I am. Not having a breast doesn't change that. Not having hair doesn't change that. And this is related to the second memory that I remember. I had a friend that came to me one day and I sat with her and I told her what happened. And then she said, this was before my surgery. She said, you're going to remove your breasts? I said, yeah, I have decided to completely remove my breasts. Now, for breast cancer survivors, you have an option to do reconstructive surgery, which means pakar tu boleh kind of like make a new breast for you. So if you can actually preserve the outer layer of your breast, which is the skin, okay, the skin, the nipple, the areola, the doctors will try their best to preserve that. Now, it's called breast conserving surgery, where they keep the outer layer, but inside they either use, number one, an implant, or number two, they will take muscle either from the back or from your tummy, or sometimes even from the thigh. So whichever has like more lemak, they will take lah. So my doctor actually told me, because of my chemo treatment, I gained so much weight because of the steroid. She said, oh, you can actually do, reconstructive surgery and take muscle from my back. And I had gained 10 kilos, okay, during treatment. And I did all my research. I learned about mastectomy. That is the process of removing your breast. I learned about breast reconstruction. I learned about the different types of breast conserving surgeries. I researched about the pros and cons of having my breast reconstructed or being removed completely. And I decided to have it completely removed. So I do not have a left breast. And when I told this particular friend that I was going to remove my breast, she said, but why? Why do you want to remove it? It's a part of you. Like, why can't you just keep it? You're a woman. And I got so shocked. And I just said to her, my breast doesn't define me as a woman. Just because I don't have a breast doesn't make me any less of a woman.
True.
I value my life more than I do my breasts. And if I'm going to keep my breast just to look good, but have it kill me at the end of the day, then what's the point? Just so that I can, look good? There's no point in that for me. So I had a very thorough discussion with my doctors as well. And I just told them, Doc, remove the whole thing. There is no purpose of me to reconstruct. I still have my right breast. I did think about when I have children, macam mana kalau I nak breastfeed. And I still have my right breast. So I told my doctor, I want to keep my right breast, remove my left breast. And they said, okay, fine. So my point here is that whatever decision that you make, you have to do your research. And you have to make sure that whatever decision that you make is for you. It is not for anybody else. It is for you. But don't just make decisions because, oh, my friend told me that this is going to happen. And then you don't read about it. You don't research about it. You don't ask your doctors about it. You should ask your doctors about it. Because they have seen all sorts of patients. And they are the most equipped to advise you on what to do. If you want to have a breast reconstruction, it's fine. If you don't want to have a breast reconstruction, it is fine too. Again, not having a breast does not define you as a woman. And if anybody is going to judge you because you don't have a breast, then that person doesn't deserve to be in your life. So I actually have lost some friends because of cancer, because they said, oh, why are you making this decision? Why are you going to this doctor? Why are you not going to this hospital? Private hospital better than government better than private. It doesn't matter. They can give an opinion, but they cannot force you to do anything.
True.
And you need to surround yourself with people that love you and care for you and respect the decisions that you want to make. So make an informed decision. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you Madam Hiba. Sekarang saya bagi ruang pada Puan Zuraini untuk menjawab soalan yang sama. Pengalaman yang paling tidak dapat dilupakan semasa menghidupi penyakit ini. Persilakan.
Pengalaman tu, I think semualah. Setiap detik dalam rawatan tu semuanya takkan lupa lah sampai hari ni. Yeah? I can still remember the day doktor cakap saya kena kanser. Saya masih lagi menangis bila saya bercerita dan berkongsi tentang bagaimana saya berjumpa dengan doktor di hospital, berbincang tentang rawatan yang saya akan jalankan. It was a very painful moment kerana I was maybe sebab saya, I think because saya ibu tunggal lah kot, no, I was alone, no one to share with. And then that moment anak kecil yang my son yang sulung masa tu final year dekat university, so dia tak tahu langsung tentang kanser saya dan rawatan sampailah saya dah selesai rawatan, dia balik rumah baru saya cerita. And then saya ingat lagi sebab I was very independent, saya banyak kerja outstation, banyak kerja-kerja aktiviti masyarakat dan sebagainya. And then at the same time I care for my parents. Mak bapak saya masa tu sangat uzur. Bapak saya baru menjalani pembedahan jantung. Jadi it was like I was alone lah masa tu. Mungkin saya mengambil keputusan untuk simpan semua. Itu pun satu masalah juga. You try to be strong, which is you kena tahu limit. Sebenarnya kita manusia biasa, tak ada orang superwoman sebenarnya, tak ada orang superman. You are a human. Human ni maksudnya ada time you lemah, ada time you menangis, ada time you rasa you strong, ada time you boleh tahu semua benda, ada time you think you can, you boleh lalu lah. Sebenarnya tak, you perlukan support system juga sebenarnya. So I had my bad masa the first 6 months tu saya melalui situasi yang sangat buruk kerana trying to be so tough. Saya pergi hospital, bayangkanlah, balik daripada umrah, saya berehat 1 hari, mak bapak saya tak tahu lagi kata saya kanser, padahal mereka duduk dekat dengan saya, dalam jagaan saya. Anak saya dah tahu dah masa kat Mekah saya cerita, anak saya yang sulung tak tahu. So saya dah prepare my bag, saya ada 2 bag. Satu bag balik pada Mekah, satu bag dah siap dah untuk pergi ke hospital. So balik rehat 1 hari, Alhamdulillah saya tak demam dan sebagainya. Esoknya saya bawa bag untuk ke hospital. Saya pergi sendirilah, bawa kereta, pergi sendiri, lepas tu pergi check in. Saya dah buat dah bayar duit semua. So saya bila nurse tanya siapa yang nak check in ni, siapa pesakit, saya kata saya lah. Kan tengok tu strong tak strong, bawa bag sendiri ni. Lepas tu saya pun masuk ward. So it was a painful experience sebab I got to go through alone dan saya terlalu nak merahsiakan. Kerana pertama saya takut sebab saya tahu dah ramai kawan-kawan saya macam Dr. Puan Hiba kata dia hilang kawan, saya pun hilang kawan juga sebab mereka kata saya kan banyak dosa, banyak buat jahat jadi pada muka. So kawan-kawan tu dah tak ada dah dalam list saya. So masa saya habis operation dan saya berehat setika, kemudian saya sambungkan rawatan. Saya tak buat kemo, beza saya tak buat kemo, saya buat radioterapi. Saya kena buat, dia panggil kalau Puan Hiba mastectomy, saya buat hysterectomy. Hysterect tu ialah buang keseluruhan organ wanita lah kata. Dan pada usia 43, doktor pembincang-bincangan saya, dia kata this is the best solution yang dia boleh bagi, cadangan yang terbaik supaya kita tidak akan melalui recurrence. Kita tak nak kanser kita datang balik dan sebagainya. So buang semua total adalah satu kaedah rawatan yang paling sofa yang terbaik lah untuk memastikan bahawa saya free cancer untuk jangka masa yang panjang. Saya pun berdoa lah kanser saya tidak kembali. Tapi pergi ke Pulau Pinang 2 bulan setengah kena buat radioterapi. Saya terpaksa tinggalkan anak-anak di rumah. So it's quite painful. I was lucky, saya ada support system, mak mertua jaga anak masa tu sekolah, dan dia orang tak memberi banyak masalah kepada saya. Tapi was alone and lonely lah melalui rawatan. Cuma I was lucky, saya ada adik di hospital di Pulau Pinang. Jadi saya tinggal di rumah adik saya. Dan sewaktu pergi rawatan radioterapi, sebab kena pergi hari-hari rawatan radioterapi sekejap je, dalam 5 to 10 minutes je, tapi nak kena pergi hari-hari. Jadi saya terpaksa tinggal di Pulau Pinang kerana saya tidak berkemampuan nak ulang-alik. Tetapi every weekend saya akan bawa kereta saya balik daripada Pulau Pinang. Setiap hari Jumaat saya akan pastikan saya mendapat rawatan yang pertama, orang pertama atau orang kedua, supaya habis rawatan di Pulau Pinang terus balik ke Kedah, Alok Ustaz, Jitera, duduk rumah, tengok anak, bagi time sambil-sambil saya rehat, menghadapi orang kata side effects daripada rawatan radioterapi saya. Sambil tu boleh tengok anak, cuba untuk masak. Lepas tu hari Isnin saya kena sambung rawatan di Pulau Pinang. Hari Isnin saya akan ambil jadual rawatan saya tengah hari, supaya pagi Isnin saya bawa kereta ke Pulau Pinang, terus ke hospital, buat rawatan dalam pukul 2. So this is my routine for almost 3 months. Itulah detik yang menyedihkan, sedih. Along the way bawa kereta, ada side effect rawatan radioterapi, saya kena cerit birit sebab saya punya radioterapi di kawasan abdomen. So saya akan cerit birit, berhenti tepi jalan, bukanlah tepi jalan, setiap R&R yang ada sepanjang jalan. Jadi saya tak ada social life. Social life dengan kawan-kawan, walaupun kawan-kawan kadang-kadang ajak makan, saya tak berani sebab saya ada side effects daripada rawatan saya. Tempoh rawatan itu memerlukan mental yang kuat, sebab itu ada ramai sakit yang terjun bangunan. Sebab there were times you rasa tak nak hidup dah, rasa macam nak mati. Ada waktu kita rasa macam takut nak mati, kan. Lepas tu kena belajar lah, macam mungkin Dr. Puan Hibah dia dah ada orang kata mental, physical dia agak lebih secure. Saya tak. I had a very bad 6 months yang waktu saya diagnose, lepas saya operation dan dalam rawatan radioterapi, saya murung, saya tidak ketawa. Selama 3 bulan, 4 bulan, saya terlupa nak ketawa. Saya bawa kereta masa drive, saya pasang lagu, bukan lagu lah, saya pasang mengaji, pasal ingat nak mati, kan. Saya jadi takut. Sebenarnya ini adalah sesuatu yang tidak bagus. You shouldn't live in fear sebenarnya. Yelah, semua orang patut ingat mati, kan. Tapi this is not how you live after you've been diagnosed. Selepas didiagnose tu, you tak boleh hidup dalam bersedih dan ketakutan sebenarnya. Itu tidak membantu rawatan itu at all. Tapi masa tu saya tak tahu. Sehinggalah sahabat baik saya bila dia datang, dia tengok saya, dia tengok saya masih dalam macam after operation saya lambat sembuh. Dia kata something is wrong with you lah. Saya kata saya tidur tak berapa bagus. Dia menangis. Tengok jenaka komedi kat TV pun menangis, Saya tak tahu kata saya depression, saya tak tahu kata saya murung, sebab saya bersedia hilang kawan, hilang even business partner saya lari, tinggalkan saya, with debt. So, there's a lot of pressure, ada banyak ketakutan lah sebenarnya dalam hidup saya, dengan anak, dengan bapa. I was rasa macam left alone, even masa saya pergi buat radioterapi, bila dia orang tanya, how do you feel? I feel like I'm a four wall. Saya ada dalam bilik dinding 4 segi. So, actually, yang menjadi masalah ialah how kita conquer kita punya fear dan bina balik self-confident untuk hadapi hari-hari. Itu je lah. I'm so sorry. Wah, emotional pula. See, I tell you, every time kalau saya cerita balik, detik-detik yang menyedihkan, it was sad moment lah. And I will never forget. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Puan Zuraini. Okay, saya terus kepada soalan yang seterusnya. Pada Puan Hibah. Ini lebih kepada macam mana Puan Hibah menghadapi penyakit tu lah. orang yang memberi sokongan pada masa tersebut dan apakah reaksi mereka setelah Puan Hibah berjaya mengatasi penyakit?
Thank you very much, and thank you so much, Puan Zuraini, for being so vulnerable and just showing your emotions and being comfortable enough to express in this safe space. Thank you so much for that. Actually, the people that gave me support, my family, and I have a bunch of close friends. Not many, maybe like 4 of them. So I have a group of 4 girl friends that I have known since school. Not even high school. One of them I've known since primary school. Yeah. So the 4 of us to this day are very close. So alhamdulillah for them and for my family. At the time it was very tough because I have insurance. So alhamdulillah I managed to get private care. And unfortunately, my insurance is inpatient, which means that I can only use the insurance kalau saya kena admit dekat hospital. So every time buat chemo, kena admit. And the whole process is very tiring. From having to see the doctor in the morning, to admissions, to waiting for my chemo medication, until having to be discharged. So I would usually be in the hospital for about 2 days, from, for example, Friday morning and discharged Saturday petang or malam. And that whole process is just very tiring. But it was necessary because of my insurance. And as tiring as it was, every day I just say alhamdulillah for insurance, that I was able to choose the type of treatments that I needed. And I am the youngest in a family of 5. So my eldest sister, she takes care of my mom. And my father is no longer around. So actually the year that I got diagnosed to 2015, bulan January, my dad baru meninggal. Bulan February, I was diagnosed. So my mom still dalam idah lagi. And she had to take care of me. And we've had a few conversations about this. And my mom cakap, maybe Tuhan tu nak take my mind off your father. So he got you diagnosed very close to when he passed away. So that my focus is on you and not so much on when your father meninggal. And so we chose to see it that way. And I am very grateful for my mom. She made sure, because doctor cakap, she advised me, time you tengah treatment, kurangkan makanan luar. Kurangkan makan makanan luar. Because you don't know what they put in there. You don't know if it's fresh or not. So she said, when you're going through chemo, you need to have fresh food. So if you're having breakfast, cook it breakfast time. If you're having lunch, cook it lunchtime. Having dinner, cook it dinner time. Make sure that it is fresh. That is very important. Sebab during chemo, kita punya white blood count turun. So my body cannot fight infections. So if I were to get, for example, a flu, the flu can actually put me at risk. I may end up in the hospital just for a flu because my body tak boleh fight. So my mom made sure she cooked for me every day. Every single day she would cook for me. And my brother currently lives in London with his family. So he could come back to see me, but I told him, it's okay. I have, the sisters here, I have mama here, and I have my friends here. So any emergencies, I will call you. But he was always there to be by my side if I ever needed him. And I could call him any time that I wanted. So I felt that he was with me as well. And my brother also, Janice, even as a man, he takes his time to get to know what I'm going through. So he did research for me as well. So this is very important because I have also met cancer survivors who their husbands or their partners don't support them.
Yeah.
Because they say, oh, I'm a man. I don't know anything about the breast. So I'm not gonna take notice. You sort it out yourself. But as a man, I think it is so important when you have wives or for your sisters or for your mom to actually be involved in the process, because we are going through so much. Like, I went through so much. I went through so many bodily changes. I went through not just hair loss, but I went through memory loss. Something in my hand. And I gained a lot of weight. I gained 10 kilos, and that was not good for me. I lost my breasts. I had fatigue, severe fatigue. I was very tired all the time. So my routine every day, bangun, lepas 2 jam tidur. Lepas 2 jam bangun, lepas 2 jam tidur. That is my routine. Sebab I'm too tired to just function throughout the whole day. And I lost my appetite. Memang tak boleh makan. It was so hard to eat. Everything tastes like metal. I don't know how to explain to you, but because there's a lack of iron in your body, you start to taste like metal or paper, so everything doesn't taste good anymore. My other two sisters, one of them was pregnant at the time that I was diagnosed. Another one had my niece. So they couldn't stay with me in the hospital. So the ones that actually stayed with me in the hospital are my best friends. Now, at the time, so there's 4 of them. 3 of them were in KL. 1 was in London. And she actually flew back to take care of me. She flew back during her SEM break. She wasn't supposed to, but she said, I came back, I needed to see you. Because I don't know if, I don't want it to be too late if anything happened. And she came back and she took care of me. And these are the people that I really keep in my life. And my husband, actually, we are no longer together, but we are still good friends. Because at the time that I was going through my cancer treatment, he was there for me. And he was very much involved juga. He got to know my doctors, he got to know my nurses, he did his research, he knew all the medications that I was going through. Every time I had a side effect, kalau tak boleh makan, he will research apa yang boleh, tolong for me to makan. If I'm tired, what should I do? If I don't want to eat main meals, okay, he will give me fruits. How can he make it interesting for me when I cannot go out of the house? Macam right now we are all in quarantine. At that time I was also in quarantine sebab tak boleh keluar sebab my immune system was low. So he will come up with games for me to play. He even I think he managed to download like the old PlayStation punya interface on his laptop. I have no idea how, but I started playing like my old PlayStation games on my laptop, and that was like quite interesting. I played games like Uno and Battleship. I did artwork, and I read comics, and it kept my mind off things. It got me going, and like Puan Zuraini, I also went through a state of depression. I was suicidal, I think the end of that year, when my treatments were not really finished, but the major treatments were finished. So now depression comes in so many forms. So I started to not want to go out, and I started to not take care of my diet. I started to binge eat like a lot, and I didn't care what anybody said about taking care of my health. I just rebelled. And I found there were days that I couldn't get up from bed or get out of my room. It was very hard. And when I started having suicidal tendencies, it became very bad. I would cry for days. There were days that I sit. So my mom's house, out of the window of my room, there is a ledge that you can actually sit. So I sometimes would sit there and think, what would it feel like to jump off? And it was hard. It was so hard because I felt like I had lost a huge part of me, not just physically, but mentally as well. And it was only, I think, 2016, I started to see a psychologist. And that helped me a lot because I started to give talks in 2015, end of 2015, and I would actually talk about this, and I would encourage people to see a therapist and to seek help. And then I realized that I'm not doing the same thing. I'm telling people to do it, but I'm not doing the same thing. And when I really sat and really looked at myself and what I was going through from a third person's perspective, I was thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not in a good mental state of mind.
Yeah.
So I went to see a counselor. And even like, not just with cancer, but even with mental health, people always have something to say. You shouldn't see a counselor. It's all in your head. You should go back to just reading the Quran. You should go back to religion, your iman. That is not the case.
Betul.
Mental health is a problem. It is like a condition. So it is like when you go to a doctor for your physical health, you should go to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist for your mental health. You know, this is what you call self-care. And it took me a lot to be able to actually do that. From actually making the appointment to seeing the actual counselor, I think it took me about 6 months. Like I would make an appointment and then cancel. I would drive on the way to therapy and then like turn back and give an excuse. So what actually helped me was my family. My family and my friends, they said, you know what, you take it one step at a time. It's okay. We are here for you. You know, and whoever that is like not there for you, you can just set them aside and just focus on the people that are there for you. Like you don't have to have 100 friends. You just need one person to give you that support, to tell you that you can do this. I am here for you. If like somebody said to me very recently, if you have no hope in you left, I will hold that hope for you until you are ready, and then I will go through this with you again. And that gave me that mental clarity and that mental space to breathe and to be vulnerable and to cry. And my family never judged me for that. My friends, my true friends never judged me for that. My ex-husband never judged me for that. And I'm so grateful for this close but very, very intimate, very grateful group of family and friends that I keep. And this is the type of support that you need when you are going through anything big, not just cancer, but anything big in your life. You have to be a little bit picky with who you put in your inner circle, but you keep those friends close. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Iba. Ya, banyak sangat lesson kita boleh belajar sebenarnya. Okay, Puan Zuriani sebelum teruskan, Puan Zuriani okay? Jawab soalan.
Yeah, okay, I'm okay.
Okay.
Sorry. I once a while tu dia ada
It's
kan.
okay, madam.
Macam katalah bukan semua orang adalah hero and superman. Okay, saya pun saya tak habis lagi cerita tadi. I got myself, saya pergilah jumpa psychiatrist. It helps a lot. Sebab itu saya pergi jumpa psychiatrist for 6 months. Psychiatrist saya bagus. So dia walaupun sebenarnya saya dipaksa lah jumpa psychiatrist kan oleh seorang sahabat yang recommend saya kerana dia rasa saya tak cepat sembuh sebab I'm not myself. Kita tak nampak diri kita. Kita tak nampak diri kita. Saya orang yang lively, yang aktif. Suddenly saya nak cakap pun lemah lembut sangat kan. Which is not me. I always laugh and menyanyi, bawa kereta je mesti nyanyi terus. Tapi macam Puan Iba katalah, orang mengharapkan bahawa bila kena kanser, nak fikir nak mati, tak boleh nyanyi dah, tak boleh ketawa, kena mengaji Quran, solat kan. Sebenarnya itu pun kita buat juga kan, takkanlah kita, as I said lah, hidup ni normal. Kita ni manusia yang biasa, kita manusia awam. Kita bukan dilahirkan jadi seorang da'i ke, seorang ulama ke kan. Jadi kehidupan kita sebagai orang awam ni, kita ada ketawa, kita ada nyanyi, kita ada mengaji, baca Quran, kita balancekan hidup. Which is bila kita sakit, kita terlupa perkara sebegini kerana mungkin kita terlalu bersedih. Bersedih sangat tak bagus. So I was lucky, support system saya pertama sekali ialah Saya nak kata keluarga sebab mak ayah saya ada, tapi dia tidak membantu saya untuk kerana mereka uzur, tapi they are there. Lepas tu I have my sister yang jaga saya sewaktu saya di Penang. Jadi waktu saya dalam rawatan selama hampir 3 bulan, dia masak untuk saya lah, tanya apa saya nak makan. Sambil itu dia sibuk bekerja. Anak-anak saya semua bersekolah. Saya tak fikir, saya tidak mahu membebankan mereka dengan ketakutan, kerisauan. Jadi depan anak-anak ni kita tunjuk kita normal saja. Dan saya rasa kawan-kawan lah, saya ada 2-3 kawan je, tak ramai, yang betul-betul BFF, yang akan setiap hari hantar breakfast untuk saya, yang call saya daripada Kelantan setiap hari just to make sure untuk saya tidak murung, yang call saya daripada Sek, hantar macam-macam. Kadang-kadang kawan-kawan ni bukan saja hantar ubat, tapi supplements pun dia pun hantar juga. Ini pun kawan-kawan ni pun kadang-kadang dia pun nak tolong, tapi dia pun dapat maklumat yang salah tentang rawatan. Jadi dia pun bagi saya macam-macam lah, ataupun suruh saya beli macam-macam. Kerana mereka mendapat maklumat yang salah, jadi mereka berkongsi dengan kita pun perkara yang salah, dan kita pun kadang-kadang mengamalkan benda yang salah. Support system kawan-kawan tu sangat penting. Dan saya sampai sehingga hari ini, bila saya jumpa dengan onkologi saya selalu cakap, saya mengharapkan rawatan itu dia jadi satu standard protokol. Setiap pesakit kanser yang didiagnose mesti pergi jumpa psikiatris atau kaunselor. It must be in the package. Kerana no matter who you are, tak kira you orang berpendidikan, berjawatan, ada pekerjaan, sebab ketika ini selepas saya didiagnose selepas saya sihat sehingga hari ini, saya banyak, kalau orang tahu, saya banyak berjumpa dengan pesakit-pesakit yang miskin atau less pendidikan, yang orang kata pergi hospital kerajaan lah. Yang pergi private ni selalunya yang berkemampuan. So pesakit-pesakit luar bandar ni, ataupun pesakit asnaf, kanser yang miskin atau yang kekurangan maklumat ni, mereka pun banyak isu-isu sosial atau isu-isu apa orang kata moral support yang diperlukan untuk mereka menghadapi rawatan sehingga selesai. Sometimes dia orang give up kerana mungkin macam kata kalau isteri sakit, suami tak support. Kalau suami sakit, bukan tak support, dia orang tak tahu macam mana nak tolong. Tapi sebenarnya banyak juga bila isteri sakit, suaminya tinggalkan isteri. Itu pun another story. Dan being a woman dan ibu, fokus kebanyakan ialah kerana takut kepada anak-anak, kesian ke anak-anak. Jadi ibu atau pesakit itu akan tinggalkan rawatan atau tangguhkan rawatan kerana dia nak fokus pada anak-anak. Which is selalu saya nasihatkan mereka, tak, sakit kanser, you fokus rawatan you dulu. Kalau you tak sihat dan tak sembuh, you tak boleh menjaga anak-anak. So what I'm trying to say ialah ini juga antara apa yang kita cuba lakukan, mewujudkan support system di kalangan pesakit. Kerana selalunya hanya pesakit memahami emosi pesakit yang lain. Itu akan memberi kita kekuatan untuk sama-sama hadapi. Bila saya dengar Dr. Puan Hiba cerita tentang pengalaman dia, saya pun melaluinya. So I'm not alone. This is very important. So I bukanlah gila macam nak tolong bangunan. Rupanya ada, memang betul lah ramai orang rasa macam tu. Which is actually ada pesakit. Waktu saya tengah dalam rawatan di Pulau Pinang, pesakit itu tak hadir sesi radioterapi keesokan harinya kerana dia semalam dia terjun bangunan and he died. What I'm trying to say ialah support system ini can be anybody. Can be friends, family, dan mungkin juga orang yang kita tak kenal. Yang penting ialah you care. So kepada yang mendengar, kalau anda masih belum punya orang atau keluarga atau peers yang kena kanser, you boleh carilah satu case atau 2 case to support. And how to support, you tengok pengalaman kami. Kadang-kadang to create a smile, memberi senyuman, itu penting lah. Sebab tu kita kalau kanser survivor Malaysia, kita selalu bagi hadiah, pergi ziarah. Sekarang dah tak boleh ziarah, tapi to give something tu, dia mengembirakan walaupun benda tu kecil. Appreciation, dan masa kami dalam sakit, sebenarnya kita kehilangan keluarga, kawan-kawan yang tidak memahami. You jangan terkejut lah, you won't be surprised. Kadang-kadang pesakit itu, orang yang dekat dengan dia tu pun yang lari daripada dia. Kerana mungkin dia orang tengok, some people ingat pesakit kanser ni dia hanya terbaring, tunggu dia pengsan, macam nak mati je baru sakit kanser. Padahal kadang-kadang kita ni nampak je sihat, tapi tak nampak lagi masa kita struggle kat belakang tu. Kan? You tak nampak lagi waktu kami terlentang, kan? Kita pun tak tunjuk semua. Cuma itulah support system ni, kita harap semua orang yang sekeliling kita dapat menjadi support system kita. Thank you.
Okey. Terima kasih Puan Zaini. Okay. Saya teruskan kepada pusingan terakhir, soalan terakhir. Saya tujukan soalan ini pada Puan Hibah dulu. Nasihat kepada orang di luar sana, sama ada pesakit, pemandiri ataupun ahli keluarga pesakit parah, ataupun orang awam seperti kami sendiri. Silakan.
I think I'll start with advice untuk orang awam, since most of you are, in that category. If you ever have any problems with your body, please get it checked. Now, I cannot stress this enough sebab I have met ramai sangat orang kalau ada masalah tak nak pergi jumpa doktor until it's too late. Because they will say, takut lah, it's nothing lah, it's tak apalah, I googled, it's nothing lah. No. It's that little thing can be something. I had one of my very close friends who is a cancer survivor. She went for a checkup for her breast sebab dia ada rashes in one breast. And went to doctor check out, the rash is normal, it's probably an allergic reaction to your bra. And then the doctor checked her other breast. And her cancer was the size of kacang peas. And the doctor found it. See, if she didn't go for that checkup, she wouldn't have found that problem, the other problem. So what I'm saying is, you know your body best. Because you know your body best, you will know kalau ada masalah. There are doctors who tell me ada setengah wanita, they find their ketumbuhan in the breast because their husbands found it, not because they found it.
Yeah.
As a woman, not just as a woman, as a person, you should know your body best. Don't be afraid to get to know your body. It's your body, and it's a part of you. And if you are not going to take care of yourself, you cannot expect, everybody around you to give you answers. So even when you go to the doctor will ask you, what are the signs? What are the symptoms? What do you feel? How do you feel? Any changes in your body? So you will only know that if you constantly check your body. I'm not just saying your breast. I mean from head to toe, everything. And for both women and men, I encourage you to find out how to do a breast self-exam. Because breast cancer can affect men as well, not just women. You have to really remember this. It's a small number of men, but it does affect men. So you can just Google how to do a breast self-exam. And it's always recommended to do it once a month, sekali sebulan. If you don't remember when to do it, just on the first of each month, there's a movement called Feel It on the First. So it's just for you to remember. The first of every month, just check. And it's very, very easy to do. It's a manual exam. You don't have to go for a scan or whatever. This is to train you to understand your body, to understand the changes that your body is going through. And don't be afraid of your doctors. They are there to help you. Again, like I said, if you find a doctor that you are not comfortable with, maybe seek a second opinion. Ask, can I see another doctor? And it's okay to seek a second opinion. It is your right. As a caregiver, if you know somebody who has cancer, what you can do is reach out and ask, what can I do for you? How can I help? If, let's say this person says, tak apalah, it's okay, tak nak menyusahkan. Maybe what you can do is you can send some food. Or if you know anybody who is a cancer survivor, you can connect them. Or if you know any cancer groups, you can connect them as well. if they need help processing information, because that is the most difficult thing for me, to actually process all of the information that I got. Memang pening. All of the different terms, medical terms, whatever, memang pening. I wanted to look at it. So maybe what you can do is, like, if it's somebody that you're close to, you can process the information for them, but let them make the decision. And by processing information, I mean whatever information, you summarize it and check out, okay, this is option A, option B, option C. You pick. And also, what I find helps as well is, if a cancer patient comes to you and starts talking about their emotions, let them. You don't have to give advice pun. Sometimes we just need to talk. Kan, Puan Nuraini? We just need to talk sometimes, kan? And just share what we are feeling. Just create that safe space. This is what I call it, safe space for them to speak. And that's very important. That is also a form of support. And sekarang dengan COVID, I understand tak boleh jumpa any patients, but you can just send a message and ask, hi, how are you? Just checking up on you. Just checking to see how you are doing. I really appreciate things like that. And, like, don't even expect an answer. So if somebody doesn't reply, you don't say, oh, why didn't you reply me? Just, once in a while, drop that. I have friends who do that until this day, and I'm so thankful. And they do not demand for my time. They just genuinely want to make sure that I know that, if I ever need anything, they are there. And it does help to keep in mind juga. For patients, when you are going through something big, like Puan Zuraini said, sometimes we want to be superwoman and superhero and try to take everything on all in ourselves. And I understand that, because I tried to do that as well. I am, I'm normally, like this. I'm smiling 90% of the time of the day. I am laughing most of the time. I am just naturally a positive person. Because of that, during my treatment, I also tried to gung-ho through it and like, okay, I'm fine. If anybody asks me or so, I'm fine. But I didn't really address my emotions. So as patients, I think it's so important to talk about our feelings. Again, you don't have to start an Instagram page or a Facebook page to go and talk to the whole world about it. You just need to find someone that you trust enough to just say, I'm feeling crappy today. I'm feeling sad today. I hate my treatment. It's okay to say that you hate your treatment. It's okay to say that treatment is hard. It's okay to say, I don't want to lose that part of me, or I'm scared to do this. It's like, I find that, when we try to be superhero, we want to just tell everybody, oh, everything's fine. I'm strong. I can go through this, whatever. It's okay to be vulnerable. I encourage people to be vulnerable, because only when you address those emotions can you really properly heal.
Yes.
It's so, so important. And for survivors, I mean, number one, congratulations for being a survivor, and it's a tough journey. It's really, really tough. And to actually, sorry, sekejap. Sorry, that was my niece Layla. She's at my mom's house and she accidentally let the cat into the room. Yeah. So, sorry. I encourage survivors to speak up and to reach out to other survivors, or other patients, because it helps also with the healing process. It helps to also connect. I find that it also helps when you meet other survivors and you share experience, and then you're like, oh yeah, I went to this doctor too. I did this treatment too. Did this help you? Did that help you? And everyone, I think in general, should just, constantly educate yourself, constantly look for information, constantly speak up, constantly talk to people, and share knowledge. I think sharing knowledge is such a beautiful thing. And by knowledge, I don't just mean books. I mean, that's experience is knowledge as well. And when it comes to your body, you make decisions for yourself, and you remember that, whatever that you go through, it does not define you as a person. Whatever physical changes that you go through, whatever mental changes that you go through, it does not define you as a person. If anything, it helps you to grow so much more. And you should be proud of yourself, whether you're going through cancer, whether going through mental health problems, whether you've, gone through a divorce, whether you have a parent going through Alzheimer's. Those are all big life-changing things. And at the end of the day, don't forget to tell yourself, to praise yourself and say, oh my gosh, I went through this, and I'm proud of myself. It's very rare that you actually say, I'm proud of myself. It's usually, oh, I'm proud of you, or somebody has to tell you. But it starts with you. When you start being proud of yourself, your energy changes, your state of mind changes, and you have so much more confidence. And so I tell myself, I'm so proud of myself. I'm proud of myself for standing up for myself, for making decisions for myself and being okay with my own body. I'm proud of myself for going through cancer, going through all that treatment, that hair loss, that chemotherapy. I'm so proud of myself to have gone through that, because that journey was tough and I went through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Iba. Saya bagi ruang pada Puan Zurani juga untuk menjawab soalan yang sama. Nasihat orang pada di luar sana sama ada pesakit, survivor, ahli keluarga pesakit ataupun orang awam sendiri. Dipersilakan.
Okay, I think sebagai cancer survivors since 2012, saya layaklah untuk memberi nasihat kan kepada masyarakat khususnya agar tidak memberi nasihat yang salah. Kita ni pantang dengar orang sakit kanser je, macam-macam nasihat kita nak bagi. Tak payah bagi nasihat. Tak payah. You just say, I'm so sorry to hear, you let me know apa yang boleh saya bantu. Just let me know. If you need someone to talk to, I am free. Saya ni, kalau semua orang tahu handphone saya, kalau siapa yang follow saya dekat FB atau dalam grup Cancer Survivor Malaysia, itulah antara sebab kenapa saya menubuhkan Cancer Survivor Malaysia. Kerana tahun 2012 tu, boleh katakan platform alam maya ni tak ada untuk Malaysia punya. Kebanyakan overseas, kita orang putih pun tak berapa pandai nak tulis, nak baca ni. Jadi kita buat Cancer Survivor Malaysia group Malaysia, sebab tu tulis Malaysia. Sebab bila saya buat Cancer Survivor je, orang luar negeri semua masuk. Jadi dia dah tak cantik dia punya perkongsian. Dan we did, until today, group Cancer Survivor Malaysia ni dia adalah online support group sebenarnya when we started. Dan group ini sebenarnya dia adalah, kita panggil apa, dia sangat, dia eksklusif lah, dia untuk members only, dia bukan public group sebabnya kerana ramai pesakit kanser yang belum bersedia nak bercerita tentang penyakit mereka kepada umum. Kerana kadang-kadang bila share je, hari ni je you tahu je sakit kanser, saat lagi semua penuh WhatsApp dengan penjual supplements, macam-macam recommendation dia orang bagi. So banyak atau ramai pesakit kanser tak berapa selesa untuk open to the public menceritakan tentang penyakit mereka. So kepada masyarakat, saya mohon pertama ialah jangan bagi nasihat. Jangan bagi nasihat at all. Pantang larang pemakan. Cuma nasihatkan pesakit bila dengar je dia pesakit kanser, nasihatkan pesakit pergilah ke hospital, mendapatkan rawatan dengan pakar yang betul dan tepat dengan cepat. Kalau boleh hari ni. Kalau dah tak tahu nak pergi mana, pergi emergency ward. Biar doktor di sana uruskan. Kita ni bagi suggestion yang betul saja. Sebab itu bila dalam grup saya, Cancer Survivor, ataupun dalam grup WhatsApp, grup FB, kita tidak benarkan sebarang perkongsian yang sharing tu. Yang forward tu tak boleh. You nak share, you share cerita pengalaman masing-masing. Pesakit kanser ni pun kadang-kadang masalah juga. Dia suka cerita hak yang nenek jiran sebelah dia. Kan, amalkan apa cengkih rebus ke, wap asap ke, apa benda ke kan. Tak boleh. Jangan duk buatlah benda-benda lagu tu. Bila saya cakap, kalau kita share, pertama kita tak tahu dia punya keberkesanan tu satu hal. Kedua, kita share ni, dia ada orang okey lah, ada orang yang tak okey sebab tubuh doktor pun dia kena examine, buat test blood, buat test apa-apa sebelum dia bagi diagnosis, sebelum dia bagi suggestion rawatan kan. Jadi kita tak usah duk buatlah sharing-sharing. Berhenti share ni. Berhenti bab forward. Share forward yang WhatsApp tu, FB tu. Jangan share lah. Kita share, kita cerita pengalaman. Okey, boleh you all share. Okey, hari ni saya dengar pengalaman Puan Zuraini dengan Puan Hiba. Saya nak share apa mereka cakap. Itu boleh share. Lepas tu kedua kepada penjaga. Penjaga ni adalah sebenarnya penjaga pesakit dan pesakit adalah dua orang yang berbeza. Pesakit ni dia ada emosinya yang tersendiri. Dan sebenarnya penjaga ke siapa pun takkan memahami emosi seorang pesakit kanser sebab you tidak didiagnose. So kadang-kadang penjaga ni dia ada emosinya sendiri, dia ada masalah emosi dia sendiri, dia sedih. Dia jaga suami ke atau jaga isteri, lagi bebai lah, asyik menangis, tak mau makan lah. I buat macam-macam pun dia tak ceria lah, dia asyik komplain tak sedap dan sebagainya. So penjaga sebenarnya memerlukan kumpulan sokongannya tersendiri. So elok juga dia berkongsi pengalaman dengan penjaga yang lain. Terutama penjaga itu adalah apabila anaknya sakit. Ibu beberapa penjaga dia lebih terseksa dan terkesan kerana ia melibatkan masa, keuangan, pekerjaan. Bila anak sakit, mak atau bapa kena 24 hours bersama anak yang sakit, mengabaikan pula anak-anak yang lain. So it's jadi family matters yang sangat besar. Sebab itu pesakit kanser kanak-kanak, isunya penjaga itu lebih. Sebab pesakit ni selalunya budak-budak ni dia lain sikit. Dia lain sikit sebenarnya. Pesakit kanser kanak-kanak ni kan kita rasa, orang kata malaikat jagalah. Mereka kadang-kadang tak rasa sakit macam pesakit kanser dewasa. Okey, pesakit pula, kita meminta agar pesakit ni menghabiskan rawatan. You trust your onco. Kita pergi jumpa doktor. Lepas tu doktor kata kita kanser, kita percaya. Tapi bila doktor kata makan, jangan pantang, kita tak percaya pula dah. Kita pergi pantang larang ikut cakap makcik, timah, mak ndak lah sebagainya. Korang lah juga yang share ni. Kan? Korang jugalah yang bagi cadangan. Tu orang sebelah tu sembuh. Dia tak pergi pun hospital buat kemo. Padahal kanser ada 3 jenis. Bukan semuanya. You kena tahu. Benign, malignant semua kena tahu. Kanser ada agresif, tak agresif pun kena tahu. Jenis kanser semua berbeza. Walaupun dia kanser, tak sama. Bila kita cakap kan. Sebab tu kita kata jangan kongsi benda yang bukan kita tahu kredibiliti penulisnya. Kalau nak kongsi perkongsian, kongsilah perkongsian Datuk Dr. Rusdan, pakar kanser gynecologist Malaysia yang tersohor, Dr. Emelda, all those people yang ada, dia punya credibility, kan? Kita tak usah share hak yang forward, kan? Even saya tak berapa suka, saya baru tegur je kumpulan WhatsApp saya bila dia share tentang bacaan ayat-ayat suci, Quran, certain ayat penghapus. Dia kan kita saya selalu cakap lah macam ni Saya cakap bahasa mudah lah sebab saya selalu deal dengan orang awam yang tak mengaji kat IIUM ni. Depa ni saya kata macam ni lah. Masa saya pergi Mekah, kami ada jemaah sakit darah tinggi, kencing manis, jantung, demam. Tok Arab di Mekah tu dia ada Baitullah tau, Kaabah. Lepas tu dia ada telaga Zamzam dekat Baitullah. Dekat Madinah ada Masjidin Nabawi atau makam Rasulullah. Tapi bila kita sakit dekat Mekah atau Madinah, Tok Arab bayar hantar ambulans bawa pesakit pergi hospital. Dia tak arah nak bawa pesakit pergi Baitullah, minum air telaga Zamzam atau mandi dengan air Zamzam. Nah, saya punya hujah simple je. Saya tak reti lah nak cerita pasal biotech apa benda ni, saya tak reti. Tapi saya nak cerita the simple thing ialah Tok Arab bawa ambulans hantar pesakit pergi ke hospital King Abdul Aziz. Dia tak bawa pergi Baitullah, padahal Baitullah tu duduk depan hospital. Di Madinah, hang sakit, dia tak bawa pergi makam Rasulullah, pergi mengaji depan tu. Dia bawa pergi hospital. Kerana apa? Kerana walaupun kita nak buat rawatan, pastikan rawatan itu tepat. Sebab kanser dah tak ada masa. Dia tak ada esok lusa tulat. Nasib baik Dr. Hibah 2 tahun tak apa lagi. Ada orang setahun 6 bulan pun sadaqallahul azim. Jadi, apa jua rawatan yang kita nak ambil, nak terima, nak lakukan, pastikan rawatan itu rawatan yang betul. Dengan pakar yang ada kredibiliti. Itu saja. Thank you.
Okay. Baik, Puan Sri, terima kasih. Okay, sekarang sudah selesai soalan daripada penganjur. Sekarang saya buka sesi soal jawab pada audiens yang ada. Silakan yang ada boleh buka mikrofon, perkenalkan nama dan nyatakan soalan ataupun tulis di bahagian chat, nanti saya bacakan. Boleh tulis juga nama panel yang ingin ditujukan soalan. Okay, terima kasih.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Okay, nama saya Fatin Adana Fikri. Jadi saya nak tanya soalan ni kepada kedua-dua panel je. Soalan saya adalah, kami sebagai pelajar, apa yang boleh kami bantu dengan pengetahuan kami pasal kanser ni, apa yang kami boleh bantu sama ada kepada pesakit kanser ataupun pemandiri kanser ataupun kepada masyarakat awam, apa yang kami boleh bantu, cara yang kami boleh bantu golongan-golongan ni dengan pengetahuan yang kami ada. Apa yang dijangkakan daripada kami. Itu saja daripada saya. Terima kasih.
Boleh tak saya jawab dulu sekejap? Saya sebagai orang tua, paling tua lah kat sini, umur 53, 52 kan. Saya mengharapkan anda remaja yang ada followers kan. You all semua ada your peers. You ada your peers, you ada IG, you ada Facebook, YouTube dan sebagainya. Gunalah platform ini untuk menyebarkan maklumat yang betul. Okay? Kalau you tak tahu, macam saya kata tadilah, ambillah daripada sumber Datuk Dr. Rusdan, Dr. Imelda. You just share benda yang betul. Jangan share benda yang salah. Ya, kita tak expect banyak. Tapi kalau kita mulakan dengan begini, kalau I boleh save, macam saya ada Cancer Survivor Malaysia, ada 28,000 members. Saya boleh selamatkan 28,000 daripada 28 juta pun saya dah okey dah. So you secure your kumpulan, your sekeliling tu, you punya, your circle. Good enough.
Actually, I agree with what Puan Suraini said. I was going to say the same thing. For all of you young, have your own platform. Use it for awareness, or if you want to use it for information, you share credible information. Because with social media sekarang, you have a lot of fake news kan? And you have to make sure that when you share things on your social media platform, that you are responsible to do a background check. If it's shared with you, you do a background check dulu. And if, for example, somebody asks you something and you don't know the answer, it's okay to say, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. Maybe you should check with your doctor. It is okay to say that because kita ni manusia, we don't know everything. So we are supposed to guide people in the right direction when it comes to searching for information. So I've had patients that come to me and ask me, I have a lump in my breast for a few years. Does it mean I have cancer? Or I have discharge. Does it mean I have cancer? Or I have, so they come to me with symptoms and I will always tell them, I am not a doctor. So I cannot diagnose you. I cannot tell you what is going on. Please see a doctor. Even with breast self-exam, I'm not showing you how to do it. I'm asking you to research. Research how to do it. If you want to do a scan, you go and see a doctor. That's all for me.
Terima kasih panel yang jawab. Kita move to next soalan. Puan Hibah daripada Alif Amirul. Puan Hibah sekarang merupakan seorang baker di Universal Bakehouse. Jadi selepas menghabiskan sesi rawatan dan telah disahkan sembuh dari barah payudara, berapa lama tempoh masa Puan Hibah untuk mulakan hidup baru dan bekerja seperti biasa? Jadi persilakan.
Thank you, Alif Amirul, for your question. That's a very good question, actually. I get asked that quite a lot, especially because I'm in that 20s. I was in that 20s age group when I was diagnosed. To be honest, when I was diagnosed, I had to quit my job. Iba tak bekerja for about 2 years. And after I finished my treatment, my treatment in the hospital, so my chemo, my surgery, radiation, it lasted 6 months. So in my head, macam, okay lah, after 6 months, I'm okay. I just have to go and take medication and that's fine. But what a lot of people don't understand is that cancer is not linear. Dia ada ups and downs there. So after my surgery, my tumor, I asked my doctor to retest my tumor. And the results berubah. Because the results berubah, my treatment pun berubah. So I had to extend my treatment. After that 6 months, I had to extend it another 1 more year. So that's 1.5 years of my life gone. That I knew that I was not able to work. And after that 1.5 years, baru macam, okay, I think I'm ready to go back to work. But then other things came up. So I had to go for another 3 more surgeries because of some side effects to some medication. And in total, I've had 6 surgeries altogether. And recovering from those surgeries is not ideal also when you want to work. So what I did was I worked part-time. After that 1.5 years too, so about 2016 February, I went for surgery, what we call a laparotomy, which is a surgery dekat my ovary. Sebab one of my medications punya side effect for me was ovarian cyst. So I have done 3 laparotomies, buka. I have a scar, and it's a very rare side effect. Unfortunately, a lot of rare things happen to me, including breast cancer. So because I couldn't work full-time, I work part-time. But for me to actually send out my resume, it took me maybe another 6 months after my treatment. So 2017, I probably started working again, if I'm not mistaken. Even I worked part-time or I had flexible hours. And alhamdulillah, I had enough confidence to go for interviews to say that I am a breast cancer survivor. Now, I have friends who, when they disclose, diorang punya employers akan macam ask a lot of questions because their concern is whether you can work or not. And sometimes you get rejected for work because of that. So it's, entirely up to you if you want to disclose or not. I have had friends who don't disclose simply for that simple fact because they are deemed as, not being fit to work. And they have been rejected for a lot of jobs. So after that, they just stop disclosing. But alhamdulillah, for me, again, ini semua rezeki kan. So I tried my very best. And even if I had interviews where I got rejected, I just tell myself, this is not meant for me. So I started with part-time job. And then after I started working part-time or like flexible hours, then only I started going back to full-time work. And I only started to go back to full-time work, I think, about maybe 2 years ago. Yeah. And it took some time because my self-confidence was very low after treatment because I felt like I didn't know myself. I was very lost. Macam, okay, I felt like a different person. And I also realized that I process information differently now. I used to be very good at mathematics. I'm very bad at it now. I'm very, very bad at it now. And I used to be very bad at public speaking. Now I'm not afraid of it. So I had to relearn about myself and about my own qualities, my own strengths, my own weaknesses. And it's like knowing a new person. When you meet somebody new, you get to know that person. Macam tu lah. So I treated it as, I'm getting to know a new person. And I got to relearn everything about myself so that when I actually go and look for jobs, I can actually properly tell them, these are the things that I'm good at. This is my condition, and I find that if it's a good place to work, they want you to be honest and they encourage you to be honest. And alhamdulillah, the place that I work now, Universal Big House, my bosses are incredible. they are extremely supportive. And they encourage me to be as open and as honest as I possibly can. And they always tell me, if you need some time off from work for any kind of treatment, you let us know. We will discuss on how best to support you. That is the kind of work environment that I'm in. And that is the kind of work environment that I want to set when I eventually open up my own bakery. Actually, sebenarnya, masa I was going for treatment, because I didn't work, I started baking at home. I mean, like, I have been baking since I was about 6 years old, like helping my mom buat kuih raya. But when I was diagnosed with cancer, sebab Hiba tak boleh keluar, and I couldn't meet people, I couldn't work, I started baking from home. And I started selling cakes from home. I started selling cookies from home. And up to today, like even this Raya, this fasting month as well, I was selling cookies from home because I took a 1 month break from work. And I find that, if you have that drive to support yourself, you have that drive, inshallah, like your rizki will come with whatever efforts that you put in. So I didn't realize that when I opened orders this Raya, my orders just kept flooding in. So I would sleep at 2-3 o'clock in the morning just to make cookies. And my mom always says, like she's worried for my health because I sleep very, very late. But when I complain and stuff as well about, having to sleep late, she says, you know what, Hiba, it's your rizki. You are not working now for like this whole month. You took a break from work, an unpaid leave from work, but because you tak boleh duduk diam, she always tells me, Hiba tak boleh duduk diam, your rizki will come in, inshallah, and that's how I actually managed to go back to work. And I build up my self-confidence from like slowly. I talk to a lot of survivors. I talk to people who have lost their jobs. I talk to friends who are mothers and they have to take a break from work. And I ask them, how do you do it? So it's not just the cancer community that I talk to. It's people in general that I know, can give me that information that I need. And yeah, that's how I went back to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Puan Hiba. Soalan seterusnya daripada Siti Nur Hasanah. Ada tak program atau inisiatif yang kerajaan provide time cancer patients, mental or financial support, where to ask for assistance untuk Puan Zuraini?
Okey, daripada kerajaan kah? Okey, sebenarnya pesakit kanser ni, ini yang kita tengah perjuangkan ni. Pada ketika ini, kita pesakit kanser, dia bukan macam OKU tau. Ada orang, saya kadang-kadang ada satu meeting yang saya hadir di Kementerian Keuangan MOF hari itu. Sebenarnya kalau saya diberi peluang bercakap, saya nak pesakit kanser ni tak apalah. You letakkan di bawah OKU sebab OKU ni automatik akan dapat macam-macam kemudahan sebenarnya. Untuk dapatkan bantuan kerajaan tu lebih mudah bila you ada status. Tapi ketika ini pesakit kanser tidak dikira sebagai satu keadaan untuk menerima bantuan. Saya dah buat kerja-kerja kebajikan ni I think semenjak tahun 2012 khas untuk pesakit kanser. So inilah perjuangan kita kerana pesakit kanser ni keperluannya banyak keuangan. Okeylah, contohnya lah saya cerita pasal Kedah lah dulu Orang Kedah ni kalau sakit kanser, rawatan kemo, radio kebanyakan di Pulau Pinang. Sekarang ni dah banyak lah kemo boleh buat di hospital berdekatan Orang Perlis kena pergi ke Pulau Pinang. Bayangkanlah jauhnya nak pergi Pulau Pinang. Ulang-alik. Kebanyakan pesakit kanser yang saya santu ni mereka tak ada duit. Tak ada kereta pun. Tak ada kereta nak bawa pesakit pergi ke hospital. Ada pesakit pernah naik motor. Naik motor pergi stesen kereta api, naik kereta api pergi ke Batu Wharf, daripada Batu Wharf naik ferry, daripada ferry sampai ke seberang, naik Grab pergi hospital Pulau Pinang untuk mendapatkan satu rawatan kemoterapi. Bayangkan dia punya struggle yang sangat teruk lah tu belum cerita lagi duit nak pergi membiayai kos walaupun naik orang kata Grab RM30. Ada orang tak ada duit. Saya ada satu pesakit dia kanser darah. setiap hari kena buat kemo di hospital. Rumah dia dengan hospital tak jauh. Tapi naik motor lah dia bawa sendiri. Sebab dia kata kalau kena sewa teksi, pergi balik RM50. Bayangkan kalau setiap hari RM50 kali 30 hari. Jadi ada orang tak ada itu. Malangnya, kita tidak ada satu platform untuk kita memohon bantuan khas kerana kita pesakit kanser. Tetapi Alhamdulillah kesedaran tu dah makin ada. Ya, contohnya kalau kes kami bila kita bawa ke Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat boleh dikatakan yang saya kenal lah. Ya, itu pun masalah kat pegawai. Jadi ada yang menguruskan permohonan hanya kerana dia pesakit kanser. Sebab JKM pula dia ada kriteria. Kalau ibu bapa atau ibu bapa yang sakit kanser, kalau dia ada anak-anak, dia orang anggap bahawa anak adalah penjaga kepada ibu bapa, bukan kerajaan menjaga ibu bapa. So peluang untuk sakit kanser tu dapat bantuan susah kerana dia ada anak. Itu memang masalah juga. Sebab tu yet again dia atas pegawai yang menguruskan. Zakat susah juga. Ni masalah juga. Dia punya kerana birokrasi atau ni. Dan sebab itu kebanyakannya kita buat public funding platform lah. Banyak kita fund, my fund akan membantu. Even saya sendiri kadang-kadang kita buat public funding untuk membantu mengumpulkan dana. Ni baru masuk je 2-3 WhatsApp minta bantuan kewangan sebab nak pergi ke Pulau Pinang. Nak pergi buat rawatan. Sekali pergi mau 200-300. Pesakit kanser daripada Langkawi, mereka kena naik ferry. Ferry pula sampai ke Kuala Kedah. Daripada Kuala Kedah nak pergi ke Pulau Pinang, kalau sewa kereta RM180. So bayangkan, mereka, sebab itu mereka give up tak nak pergi rawatan kerana mereka tak ada duit. Mereka kata tak apalah, biarlah, tak pergilah. Lepas tu bila mereka tengok orang kata buaya apa semua, okey lagi. Mereka tak tahu bahawa kanser ni bila sampai satu ketika kalau dia pecah tu, kan, you cancer, you ada tumor kat dalam, katalah breast lah, for example breast. You nampak kat dalam tau. You tak tahu kat dalam tu macam mana. Saya ada banyak gambar-gambar, even video. Kalau lah saya boleh share, silap saya tak boleh share. Ini real punya ni. Baru kemarin, last week, 2 weeks ago saya ambil gambar-gambar ini kerana mereka tak pergi hospital buat rawatan kerana masalah keuangan. Dan mereka ingat bubuh ayak, bedak sejuk, hilang sakit, kanser tu baik. Sebab mereka buat alternatif kan. Tapi bila sampai satu ketika, bila dia dah keras, dia pecah tu, it was like, macam tu lah. Dia punya luka tu dah beyond dah. Pergi hospital, kena buat kemo dulu. Sebab kemo tu akan matikan, luka tu akan kering. Tapi you tahu tak, ada saya satu pesakit kanser 20 kali dah buat 20 cycle kemo. Luka tu tak kering-kering. So, doktor tak boleh buat pembedahan. Kalau buat pembedahan, dia ada risk untuk you lost blood dan you boleh kematian. Tetapi sebenarnya dah sampai tahap itu, rawatan tu sebenarnya dah tak ada dah. So, it's too advanced, dah beyond dah. So, what I'm trying to say once again, kalaulah kita boleh bersuara seramai-ramainya untuk mengubah polisi. So, esok bila you all ni jadi pegawai ke, jadi bos di mana-mana, carilah satu polisi atau keputusan yang boleh membantu khususnya pesakit kanser. Kerana pesakit kanser dia tak ada satu title untuk memohon bantuan. Kalaulah boleh. Kerajaan saya sekarang tengah fight untuk Kedah. Pahang kita dah dapat dah. Once you diagnose with cancer, automatic you akan dapat one off 1,000 or at least something. Untuk mereka ada duit sikit. Sebab pesakit kanser di Kuantan atau di Pahang kena pergi ke Kuala Lumpur HKL untuk membuat rawatan radioterapi dan sebagainya. Ulang-alik itu agak costly. Ya, jadi kalau kita boleh fight di setiap negeri untuk ada bantuan daripada kerajaan negeri is good enough for a start. Itu je lah.
Sorry, can I just add to what Puan Zuraini was saying?
Yes,
I don't know how it works in Kedah, but in KL, because I didn't do my treatment in government hospital, so this is purely from what other cancer patients have told me. If I'm not mistaken, in HKL there is a department that you can go to in the government hospital where you can request for some financial assistance. But I'm not sure whether it's financial assistance or whether it's medication assistance. So the difference is that finances, of course, they might give you money, like what Puan Zuraini said, like a one-off 1,000 ringgit. But medication assistance is something that I have gone through as well. Certain medication, there are the patient's assistance program. So usually you can discuss with your doctor kalau ada certain assistance program untuk patient to kind of ease the cost lah. And usually this is for more expensive treatments. So chemotherapy, I know, is subsidized by government. So if you go for chemo in a private hospital, it is extremely expensive. It is in the thousands. I'm not sure how much it costs in government hospital, but I know that chemotherapy is subsidized in government hospital. If you go for more advanced therapies, like for example, targeted therapies. So when I was going through my treatment, the extended therapy that I had to go through yang setahun tu, it's a targeted therapy called Herceptin. So Herceptin at that time was not available yet dekat government hospital, only dekat private hospital. So at that time, each treatment that I had to go to, 10,000. If I didn't have insurance, I think I pengsan. It's extremely costly, and because it's new, and at that time not a lot of patients were using it. So again, it's a demand supply kind of thing. And what my doctor introduced to me was a patient assistance program. So how it works was that for every medication that I go through, I get one treatment free. And then after that, every 3 medications that I go through, I get one treatment free. So the cycle will go like that lah, 1 + 1 or 3 + 1. And each treatment berbeza. So I know that in Johor, they also have patient assistance program because one of my friends works in oncology department kat sana. And she has mentioned about patient assistance programs. So even if maybe the government cannot give you financial funding, they might already have medical assistance in place. I do have friends that go for treatment in PPUM, University Malaya Hospital, and have gotten medical subsidies for very expensive treatments. It might not be a lot, maybe from 20,000 to 15,000. So maybe to some people, 5,000 is not a lot, but to other people, 5,000 could be a difference between you having a house and not having a house. You know, that amount of money it could be a huge life-changing experience. So my recommendation is for patients who are going to government hospital, ask the doctors, is there an assistance program for my medication? If not financial program, then for medication. And also in KL, if you reach out to the National Cancer Society, or if you reach out to Cancer Link, they actually provide accommodation for patients going for treatment from out of town, datang KL. But for National Cancer Society, the last I checked, they only provided accommodation for children that are going for therapy in HKL. So how it would work is that when they are seeing the pediatric onco dekat sana, the pediatric onco will refer their case to National Cancer Society. So the child and one parent is allowed to stay in the center throughout the treatment. And I know this because I used to work at the National Cancer Society. So upstairs on the 4th floor is what we call the Children's Home of Hope. So that's where they have beds, they have staff dekat sana to actually jaga for safety reasons as well, and they are very strict. So if the child is going for bone marrow transplant, you have a room for yourself. Because when you're going for bone marrow transplant, your white blood count is literally 0. And you have to be in quarantine in that room. You're not allowed to socialize. So they have limited space, but it is available and you have to go through HKL. However, I think if you are seeing the doctor on, let's say, on a Monday and you're coming from Penang coming to KL and you need a place to stay before you see the doctor, if they have space, they might accommodate you. You just have to reach out to them. For Cancer Link, the last I checked, they did have housing. I checked maybe like a year and a half ago. They did have housing for patients also from out of town, nak pergi treatment dekat KL. So you just have to reach out to them and ask them what is the procedure, what is the criteria. Now, patients also need to bear in mind that there has to be criteria for all of this. You know, you have to meet certain criteria. So you have to be a certain income bracket, and you have to, most of the time, be from out of town, nak datang treatment in KL. So that's the information that I know.
Okay, I just nak tambah dekat Puan Hiba tadi. It's true, dekat hospital dia panggil unit kebajikan sosial. Unit kebajikan sosial ni sebenarnya bukan sahaja untuk pesakit kanser lah, tapi untuk semua pesakit yang miskin, yang tidak melalui JKM. Kalau JKM, you automatic. Kos rawatan you akan ditanggung kerajaan. Tetapi melalui unit kebajikan sosial, mungkin sebahagian bukan semua total sebahagian daripada rawatan itu akan ditanggung oleh pihak kerajaan. Contohnya kalau you buat radioterapi, you bayar 500. I had that. Saya pun melalui unit kebajikan sosial masa tu, saya pergi buat rayuan, pergi buat permohonan, dia automatic refer me there. So saya bayarlah, dia tanya you boleh bayar banyak mana, so dia ada 500 or less than that pun still okay. Saya kata okay 500. So the whole treatment saya hanya bayar RM500 sahaja. Lepas tu untuk kemoterapi you still kena bayar RM50. Yang lain tu telah subsidized oleh government. Okay, again, rawatan kanser ni dia berbeza, ubatnya berbeza dan rawatannya panjang. Okay, apa yang might sesuai untuk saya, protokol itu untuk saya hanya pembedahan dan radioterapi. Tapi tak semua penyakit kanser endometrium melalui protokol rawatan yang sama macam saya. Okey, contoh sakit kanser paru-paru, especially dia orang ni dia punya ubat very expensive. Saya pernah tulis tajuk tentang rawatan ubat sakit kanser paru-paru sebab rawatan yang terkini, ubat-ubat kemoterapi, sebab itu di private hospital boleh katakan ubat yang terkini dan mahal harganya, kosnya. Saya ingat satu cycle, kalau tak silap Puan Hiba, is about 9,000 pun ada, 6,000, 9,000 untuk satu cycle. Okey, sakit kanser paru-paru sekarang dia orang makan, dia panggil oral chemo. Oral chemo ni yang paling expensive ialah sebiji harga dia 1,000. Sebulan you perlu 30,000. Okey, saya ada pesakit, saya kenal ramai lah yang saya dah jumpa. Even saya tanya dia orang macam mana dia orang beli. Ada orang memang jual rumah, betul lah. Dia jual rumah. Dia kata kat saya, bapak dia kanser, jadi Puan Srani, dia seorang engineer. Saya tanya dia mana dapat duit beli ubat sebulan 30,000 ni. Dia adalah 28, dia adalah beli satu, free satu tu, itu package lah. Tetapi harganya ialah 28,000 atau 30,000. Dia kata dia jual rumah lah. Dan dia nasib dia baik lah, dia ada rumah. Tapi saya ada kawan-kawan yang tak ada rumah untuk dijual. Jadi kita pernah buat crowdfunding. Hari itu kita beli ubat untuk dia, untuk biaya kos rawatan, dan kadang-kadang kita menunggu ihsan lah, hak mana hak lebih-lebih, hak mati dah tu, ubat dia kita ambil lah, kita bagi kepada orang lain. So another person punya ubat boleh menyelamatkan nyawa orang lain. Lepas tu apa juga kita buat yang sorry to say, kita memang recommend untuk generic chemo medicine yang harganya jauh lebih murah. Itu je lah.
Baik, Puan Syaini, terima kasih. So, kita move kepada soalan terakhir daripada audiens. Pada Nur Aiman Syahira. Hi, Assalamualaikum. I have 2 questions. I'm sorry if it sounds harsh, but I really just want to know. I always watch a movie and see that there are kind of 2 types of supporter. As a cancer patient, what is your thought whether to be treated as a normal person who don't know when they will die, or to be treated as a person who will die soon? Second question is, your life change after surviving? In terms of lifestyle, are you being cautious on what to eat and what not? Thank you.
Cancer mengubah, okay, I'll do that. Cancer mengubah saya. Cancer do change me. Perspektif saya melihat sesuatu, cara saya bekerja, cara saya membantu masyarakat. Dan kalau you perasan, kalau sesiapa yang follow kerja buat saya, boleh katakan orang selalu cakap seolah-olah saya ni mengejar populariti dengan melakukan kerja-kerja kebajikan. Tak, I don't. Actually, I'm rushing for my time. Saya pun tak tahu bila Tuhan akan ambil nyawa saya. Jadi, okeylah, contohlah waktu Ramadan kan, kita buat kerja banyak-banyak mengejar keberkatan bulan Ramadan. Lepas tu tiba-tiba lockdown, dah tak boleh tolong orang kan. So itu pun salah satu cara kenapa kita buat kerja bersungguh-sungguh dan banyak yang kita bantu. Dan saya melihat membantu orang lain sebenarnya bukan untuk bantu dia, tapi sebenarnya nak bantu diri saya. I've got to heal my wound. Saya masih lagi ada kesedihan yang saya tak lupa. Jadi bila saya bantu orang, saya tengok dia orang lagi teruk daripada saya. Saya ni masih ada rumah. Ada pesakit kanser tak ada rumah. Saya masih ada katil. Ada pesakit kanser mati atas lantai. Sebab itu banyak yang kita bantu dia orang ni kerana kita nak beri mereka dignity, maruah. Dan kita memang banyak bantu sehingga dia orang mati pun. Kerana kita nak dia orang ada kesudahan yang baik lah. With dignity lah kita kata. Kanser mengubah mengubah cara saya melihat penyakit ini, melihat ujian daripada Allah SWT. Saya sebelum kena diagnose kanser, saya dah pergi umrah, saya dah pergi haji. Macam warak sangatlah. Tetapi sebenarnya, bila saya kena kanser, 3 bulan pertama tu adalah nikmat saya mengerjakan ibadah. Saya solat tahajud berjam-jam, banyak rakaat, menangis sambil merangkak. Bermunajat tu dengan lebih, orang kata, I appreciate. Dan saya memahami erti bahawa bila Allah kata Allah ada dekat. Allah ada dekat. Sebab itu bila saya cakap dengan pesakit kanser, tak payah cakap dengan manusia. Talk to Allah. How you talk to manusia. Ya Allah, saya takut. Sometimes you cakap silly things. Kalau orang dulu bahasa Arab dia kata bermunajat. Tapi sebenarnya kan you talk to Allah. Allah terdengar. So, you cakap je lah, ya Allah saya takut. Ya Allah, saya takut. Saya tak bersedia nak mati. I learn all those things. Dan saya, itu orang kata, munajat Rabiatul Adawiyah. This is, I learn benda-benda ni kembali lah. Apa yang, orang kata kalau kita solat kita ada purpose. Kalau kita berdoa kita dengan penuh permohonan. Dulu kalau dia minta nak kaya, minta nak ni kan. Sekarang kalau boleh Tuhan bagi keberkatan hidup, berkat hidup tu tak semestinya kaya tapi cukup. Itu satu. Dan saya mahu dilihat sebagai orang yang normal. I would like you treat me as a normal person sebab saya percaya this is what I portray. Dan you all kalau tengok I pun you all tak tahu I sakit kanser dan semua orang ingat saya sihat. Sebenarnya tak. Kita semua ada side effect. Lepas ni saya nak menulis tajuk tentang lymphedema. Saya adalah orang yang mengalami masalah lymphedema. Kaki saya bengkak. So, dia antara benda yang saya, you all tengok saya jalan kaki jauh-jauh pergi tolong hantar balik tu, semua kaki dah tak boleh gerak dah sebenarnya. Jadi, lymphedema tu adalah satu penyakit layan. Tidak boleh sembuh, tak ada rawatan. Tetapi, saya tak nak you all melihat saya dengan muka orang yang ada kanser, tetapi saya nak you all lihat perjuangan saya membantu pesakit kanser. Saya nak lebih ramai lagi orang yang sembuh dan hidup seperti manusia normal yang lain. Give us the chance and opportunity. Kita pun masih ada lagi orang kata kebolehan yang kita nak explore dan kita boleh lagi memberi kepada masyarakat. Thank you. Puan Hibah.
Thank you, Puan Zurani. I didn't know that you have lymphedema. I have the same thing on my left arm. Yeah. I guess that comes with having your lymph nodes.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly, I just wanted to be treated like a person, whether I'm going to die soon or not. I want to be treated with love and compassion and empathy. That's how I want to be treated. It doesn't matter if the person is, bedridden in bed or in the hospital, or if the person is alive and kicking. You should treat anybody with respect, with compassion, with empathy, and with love. And I don't think there's any difference with how you should treat someone who is sick and someone who is not. I do understand that there are some people who, when they find out I have cancer, they're like, oh my God, is there anything that I need to do for you? They suddenly become like 10 times more aware. And I understand that because, that's the facts of life. We are so caught up with day to day that sometimes we don't notice the little things. And then when someone tells you, oh, actually, I'm a cancer patient. And then they wake up and like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Is everything fine? Are you going to die soon? Like, I don't appreciate the question of, are you going to die soon? Because I can die anytime. But I do appreciate it when people ask me, like things like, how was your journey? How are you feeling? Can you share a bit of information with me? Can you share a bit of your journey with me? Like how everybody's asking questions now. I appreciate that. I appreciate people asking me questions and being curious. So this is something that I learned very recently from a child psychologist when I asked her how to speak to my nieces and nephews. And she said, be curious before being critical. And I thought that was such a big eureka moment, because I thought, hey, that's something that adults don't do enough. We tend to be critical of ourselves and of other people first. So we should also change our mindsets in that sense. Even when we meet somebody who is going through something, be curious, ask, offer help, things like that. Don't just be critical and say things like what Puan Zuraini told me. She got people telling her yang dia buat dosa banyak, and things like that. Like, that is being critical, and that's not right. Nobody has the right to judge. Only Allah has the right to judge. And being I would rather people be curious about when they find out about my illness, and I really don't mind about it. My life definitely changed after I got cancer. I've become a different person. I don't think anybody is the same person, when they go through something big, or even you won't be the same person you were yesterday than today, because today you're doing something new, which is listening to this talk. And whatever information that you get would actually help in your growth and in your development. And as much as we keep on saying we don't like change is the only constant thing in our whole life. So I have begun to take better care of myself. And a lot of people ask me this, like, do you take care of what you eat? Do you exercise? Things like that. And I realize when I take care of myself, it means that I take care of my mental health. When I'm in a better state of mind, I take care of my eating habits. I exercise more, and I have more confidence in myself. When my mind is not so good, everything else becomes more difficult to do. So when people come to me and tell me not to see a therapist or a psychologist, in my mind I ask why, because I'm sure everybody experiences this, where when your head and your shoulders feel so heavy and you're so overwhelmed, you don't want to do anything. Nak solat pun susah. And you will just like drag your feet to go and ambil wudu and solat. And that's part and parcel of being human. So your mental state of mind actually, it would help with everything else in your life. You become a bit more structured in that sense. I'm not saying you shouldn't take care of yourself when your mental state of mind is not good, but you should also keep in mind that your mental health is a part of you, and it is as important as eating well, sleeping well, and exercising well. And to be honest, like, I'm not the best person when it comes to exercising. I mean, especially during PKP, I just at home a lot. But because I'm happy and I keep myself, my mental state of mind in check, and I still go for my therapist, my eating habits are good. And I am still determined to, follow YouTube videos for maybe Zumba classes, or, for dance classes, or for me to do like exercises, or go out for a walk in the neighborhood. Okay, not like outside, but like in the neighborhood. I still have motivation to do that. And it is about being aware, I think, of everything that you are going through. And again, I have to emphasize self-care, because if you don't take care of yourself, then why are you expecting other people to take care of you? So take good care of yourself. Love yourself. That's very, very important. I learned that in my first year of being diagnosed. To love yourself. Going to the doctor is loving yourself. Getting good rest is loving yourself. Once in a while, dressing up, putting on lipstick is loving yourself. Okay, I hardly put on lipstick, but today I was like, I just felt like, I wanted to dress up a little bit. So I put on lipstick, and I feel good. And it's those little things in your day that can actually, make you achieve so much. So for me, just putting on lipstick, I feel like I'm Superwoman for the day, and I can do anything today, and that's fine. That's it's all part and parcel of loving yourself. And I have to emphasize loving yourself. Yeah. That's all for me.
Terima kasih kepada kedua-dua panel. Sungguh banyak input yang kami dapat sebenarnya. Saya tak sempat nak conclude pada setiap session sebab terlampau banyak input dan sebagi ruang kepada kedua panel menyampaikan input mereka dengan cukup baik tadi. Dan tapi ada conclusion yang saya dapat. Maksudnya apa take home point yang saya boleh dapat pada session ni. First kali, acknowledge your feeling, and then seek help from people of authority, and lastly seek treatment from the correct place. Okay. That's all. I think that's all from me. Sekarang saya serahkan semula kepada pengurusi majlis. Silakan.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada moderator dan semua ahli panel yang sudi hadir untuk berkongsi pengalaman mereka. Semoga forum ini mampu memberikan informasi bermanfaat buat semua hadirin yang dihormati. Sebelum bersurai, saya ingin meminta jika tidak keberatan untuk anda semua membuka kamera bagi sesi fotografi.